everyone. I'm back. Uh, Back again. Um, I know. I know you didn't expect me to see me again this soon, but I wanted to do something today a little bit different, and I wanted to do something because Con of the Rings is going on. I wasn't able to make it, obviously, again, and let me just close. I don't know if that's any better, but anyway, I wasn't able to make it to Con of the Rings, and so I want to do a little something just for us who weren't able to make it, as well as yeah, it's just a little bit bored and things are pretty quiet around here right now. So figured I'd get this done. But um, last week I had talked about and my other reason for doing this right now is next week there won't be a second breakfast episode because it's Canadian Thanksgiving and we have plans and stuff like that. So there will be no second breakfast next week. I'll make an announcement in the Discord and everything. But next week will not be second breakfast, and then 2 weeks after that, hopefully we'll get back on track with second breakfast again. Um, yeah, so there's that as well. So anyway, last week I had talked a little bit about the possibility of doing a hero tier list um, for all the heroes in the game, ranking them, doing a tier list. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I created a tier list template this morning, and I will, if I remember at the end of this video, I will throw that in the description so you can make your own tier lists as well. And that might be important, come in handy later on, as there may be possibly a giveaway coming up in the works here on the live stream. So stay tuned for that. Keep watching. Keep your eye out for that. Hopefully coming up in the next few episodes or so. Here might be another giveaway that we end up doing. So we'll see. But yeah, so for today, we're just gonna do a hero tier list. Come and go as you want, and um, just I'm also here just to chat about the game, chat about whatever surrounding Lord of the Rings, whatever you want to talk about. Throw it down in live chat, and we'll be keeping an eye on that as well. So or you can just mock my foolish decisions on where I put heroes down in the live chat as well. You can just do that. So, without further ado, um, let's jump into it here. Again, I will be hopefully putting this template in the description, so that and a link to the template so that you can go ahead and, if you want, make your own tier lists as well. And I will be in this little box in the corner here, hopefully mostly out of the way. Uh, so yeah, let's get started. Got my coffee as usual. I think this is a Starbucks French roast. Anyway, um, so let's dig in and get started. And the other cool thing is actually these are going to be all in release order because how the image packs are. That's how the image packs are, or the images were numbered as files on RingsDB. So they're all in release order, which is really cool. So we're going to be going through in release order, ranking all these heroes. We're also not doing any ALEP, mostly. I haven't even actually looked at any of the ALEP heroes, so actually that might be an interesting thing for another day to go through and do a kind of a reaction to an initial reaction to all the ALEP heroes, because I haven't even looked at any of them. So I haven't seen any ALEP heroes, and obviously haven't played with any of them then. So we're not going to be going through ALEP heroes, and we're not going to be going through MOTK. I won't be doing any MOTK heroes. That would just, double the length of this live stream, and it will already probably be a bit of a longer one anyway. So, no ALEP, no MOTK. And I have this little NA tier here. Now, basically what that's going to mean is, for the most part, there's going to be just heroes that I haven't played, and I would need to play them to make a judgment call on them. There will be probably a few heroes that I haven't played that I will rank somewhere, but this will be just a kind of, I don't know what to do with this hero, so I'm gonna throw it down here because I have really no idea how good or bad this hero would be. So I have that as a tier as well. Other than that, I've just got kind of standard. I've got S tier, A, B, C, D, and F. So we got 6 different tiers here for the heroes. Yeah, I think that's all we need to know to start ranking these guys. Okay, so we're gonna start out with Aragorn. So we've got hero Aragorn. Don't worry, I didn't put it. I'm not putting him F tier. I'm leaving him there just for now. Oh, actually, I should open up my Rings DB. Just give me 1 second so I can actually read what the cards do. Let me just open this up. Type hero, search. Oh, I don't want to view as checklist. I want to view as full cards. No, spoiler. No, scans only. There we go. Okay. And I'm just going to skip all the MOTKs. Okay. This is so I can just... There we go. View the heroes, what they do. Okay. So leadership Aragorn. He's not F tier, but in my opinion, I think he's probably the worst Aragorn. So I'm gonna end up putting him in. Put him C, because as much as I think he's the worst or the weakest Aragorn, I think Aragorn in general is good. Plus, he has the ability to be able to Thorongil any of the other Aragorns onto him. So I'm gonna leave him in B, C. Let's put him in C for now. Let's put him in C, and we'll go from there. So leadership Aragorn is a C tier hero. Now, oh, this isn't gonna work. I need to just search each card because these are in alphabetical order and mine are in order by release. Okay, so Theodred, I haven't used this guy much. Noble Rohan warrior. After Theodred commits to a quest, choose a hero committed to that quest. Add 1 resource to that hero's resource pool. So he gives you a resource. He's fairly low threat. Giving you that resource, but he's only 1 willpower for committing to the quest to get that resource. And he's really doesn't have a whole lot of uses. There's so many better Rohan heroes that I would use before using Theodred. I'm just trying to think. I don't know if there would be even any real use case for him. I could be wrong. Let me know if I am wrong. I don't see any use cases for him though. I'm gonna put him in F tier because I I really don't see anywhere to use him. Glowin. Um, gonna be a dwarf character. 2 willpower, some amount of attack, 2 attack, 1 defense, 4 hit points. Let me just, I'll just pull each one up here. Glowing. Wrong glowing. There we go. Yeah, 2 willpower, 2 attack, 1 defense, 4 hit points. After glowing suffers a damage, add 1 resource to his resource pool for each point of damage he just suffered with threat of 9. And he's good. He's a good dwarf. You can really. I've seen a deck. I've seen Seaston really kind of hack him and have this kind of infinite resource and healing thing for him. And as far as dwarves go, in a normal deck, um, he's going to be really helpful, especially early on out of the gate to get that resource acceleration, especially if you're playing something where you're trying to get 5 dwarves out right away, and just drop a couple damage on him right out of the gate, and he's going to accelerate those resources for you. So I would put him probably B tier. I like him as a dwarf, but I think there's a lot of other dwarfs that I would gravitate to before him. And again, this tier ranking is going to be obviously extremely subjective, and it's going to be based on what I like and what I like to play. And I mean, I'm going to try and rank them as best I can on how useful I think they are, but I'm also, some of my how much I like a hero will slip in there as well. So there'll be that too. Gimli. With two willpower, 2 attack, 2 defense, 5 hit points, 11 threat cost. He gets +1 attack for each damage token on him, and ooh, um, you can easily get quite a bit of attack on Gimli. And as a dwarf, he really fits into that dwarf archetype really well. And being tactics, I'm gonna put him. I'll put him A tier because I would pick him as a dwarf over Glowin most of the time, just because you can stack crazy amounts of damage on him. Get some attachments on him to get more hit points and stuff. Um, and just he can just eventually kind of one shot most enemies, or a lot of enemies, except like the big bad bosses and stuff. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how terribly I rank all these heroes. But and I also have not used all the heroes by any means. I would say I've probably used most of them, but we'll see. And that's why I have this NA slot here where I can just throw any ones that I don't know what to do with there. Moving on, we got Legolas. And this is going to be 1 willpower, 3 attack, 1 defense, 4 hit points, ranged. After he participates in an attack that destroys an enemy, place 2 progress tokens on the quest, 9 threat. So somewhat low threat, kind of a medium kind of threat level. But you got the ranged. He's going to be able to attack, and then he's going to place progress as well. Stack on him some attachments that can do other things when he destroys an enemy. And he can really be quite helpful, especially with that ranged. I'm going to put him B tier as well. Thalin, I believe 1 willpower, 2 attack, 2 defense, 4 hit points. Again, 9 threat. And while he's committed to a quest, deal 1 damage to each enemy that's revealed from the encounter deck. Now, I have mixed feelings about Thalin because, in theory, on paper, I see him as very, very weak. But every time I play with him, and I commit him to the quest for the 1 willpower, he might be kind of... I mean, Theodred, I guess, could be like this, too. Because that 1 damage on an enemy, I find ends up being quite helpful. But I don't think it's helpful enough. Plus, it tactics Dwarf as well at a fairly low threat. So if you're wanting to play something like Thorin or Dane or something like that with a high threat, Dwarf, he can be a good tactics option that doesn't add that much starting threat to your Dwarf deck. So I find him quite helpful every time I play him. And I'm usually ending up committing him to the quest for the 1 willpower and then get that damage out on those enemies. But on paper, how useful he is, I don't know that ability is useful enough to include him in a lot of decks. And so I'm going to put him probably a step below Aragorn. I'm going to put him in D tier, I think. Because I do use him a good amount, but it's just... I don't think his ability is quite good enough to put him up even with somebody like Leadership Aragorn. So I'm going to throw him here. Eowyn. So now we're on to the Spirit heroes from the core set. And we have a threat level of 9. Again, 4 willpower, 1 attack, 1 defense, 3 hit points. Discard a card from your hand to give Eowyn +1 willpower until the end of the phase. This effect may be triggered by each player once each round. Now, Eowyn is kind of the Rohan hero that I think most, like, she's the most useful Rohan hero outside of a Rohan deck. And I find she's one of those heroes that you are building a deck and you're like, oh, I need more willpower, and you just slap Eowyn into there, where because she also comes in tactics and spirit, so most types of deck you're playing, you'll be able to slaughter into that deck. For just a baseline 4 willpower plus her ability. And tactics and spirit, Eowyn's ability are both really good. Eowyn even more so when you start playing, say, like 3 or 4 players, and you have everybody discard a card. You have that much more control over the quest. So I'm going to put Eowyn into... You know what? I think Eowyn's going all the way up to S tier. And probably Tactics Eowyn will end up being up there with her. Now, I don't play Spirit Eowyn as much as I used to. Mostly because... You know what? I'm going to put Spirit Eowyn in A tier, because Tactics Eowyn will probably end up in S tier just because of her giving so much extra willpower. In a tactics deck. If I'm playing a spirit deck, I have generally other ways that I would prefer to get willpower than Spirit Eowyn. And I don't tend to play Spirit Eowyn that much anymore. But she's still a really solid 4 willpower, fairly low threat, and then she's also giving you the ability to control that quest. After those cards come up, you can be like, okay, now I'm going to put an extra 1 or 2 willpower on here so we can control the amount of progress we place, or, even it out so I don't get that threat raise. So she's going to go A tier. Now, Eleanor. Threat of 7, 1 willpower, 1 attack, 2 defense, 3 hit points. Exhaust Eleanor to cancel the when revealed effects of a treachery card just revealed by the encounter deck. Then discard that card and replace it with the next card from the encounter deck. So this is kind of what the One Ring with, the One Ring with Frodo from the Saga quest does. A similar thing, except this is just for treachery. The One Ring from Saga actually cancels the entire card, and then reveal a different card. I guess the One Ring also shuffles that card back in, but for a 7 threat, that's good, but there's not really a whole lot else you can do with Eleanor. You do her ability. I get, like, you can buff her up as a defender, I guess, but really it's not that practical, and being Gondor and noble traded is not really that helpful for the type of card that she is. So I would say I don't have a whole lot of use for Eleanor, but I can see trying to use her at the same time. So I think I'm gonna end up putting Eleanor in D tier. I don't see a whole lot of use for her, but I can see trying to kind of build a deck with her for that. I mean, you get a win revealed treachery cancellation. So treacheries can be really nasty, especially if you're taking her through like Road to Rivendell, Redhorn Gate, some of those treacheries that are game ending. So you always have a reliable treachery cancellation. So I can see that, but for the most part, I would not be using Eleanor. Dune here. Now, Dune here is interesting because I haven't really used Dune here. I played him in the one challenge last week, actually. I played him, but I didn't really get to use his ability or anything. And he's really interesting because he can attack enemies in the staging area. No other hero has that, where they can just target enemies in the staging area and attack them. Unless you play some type of event, or I don't know if there's attachment, but there's events that allow you to do that. But so for the most part, so I'm gonna. Oh wait, I think Haldir actually does this too, where he attacks in the staging area. But I haven't used him that much. I don't know how useful he would be. He seems quite useful to me because once you stack, say, 2 legacy blades on him and get some side quests done, like you get up, have 9 attack on him and just like slaughtering enemies in the staging area, stuff like that. So I would put him. I would rank him as a B tier. He's not really a staple that I use. I've rarely used him, but he could be something that's quite fun and useful to build around. Dune here. Now we're going to go Denethor. Now, Denethor early on was really quite something else because he was early on one of your cards that could actually control the encounter deck, do some encounter scrying and stuff like that. Plus, he was a pretty beefy defender. Now, he's been outclassed, I think, in just about every way. But he is still only 8 threat. And so having a viable defender and being able to do that encounter scrying for 8 threat is pretty decent. I'm just not sure with all the other cards that are good defenders, with all the other good defenders you have now, plus being able to do encounter scrying with the likes of Furiel and other lore cards that allow you to do all kinds of cool stuff with the encounter deck. I'm not sure. Like his ability has been outclassed, I think, but it's still not entirely um, negated. So I'm gonna put him in C tier right here with leadership Aragorn, because he's still useful, and I do have I think a couple of decks where I still have him, um, but I think other cards have outclassed him in every way. Um, but he kind of brings together these two things where he's defending and he's in counter control. So that's kind of cool. Next we've got Glorfindel. Now, um, whoops. Oh my goodness. If I can spell. There we go. Now, Glorfindel's stat line is really interesting. I like his stat line. That's all I like about this lore character, this lore Glorfindel. Paying one resource from his pool to heal damage on any character once per round, um, like it's so bad. Like um, it's not enough. Like back when you was just the core set, like you have limited ways to heal people and stuff like that. So I get it, but you can put down an Ireth for 0 and be able to pay 1 and heal 3 damage on a character instead. Or unless Ireth is only on heroes, correct me if I'm wrong, but even still, you got Warden of Healing does so much better job at healing. And Glorfindel, if it was not limit once per round, then I think he would have um, some use case. But like, man, this is a hero that I will probably never put into a deck again, and he's going in F tier for me. His stat line is nice, but the 12 threat cost for just that stat line, because this ability is practically useless in my opinion. Even if you're playing with Elrond, it's 1 resource to heal 2 damage, which isn't bad, but again, play Warden of Healing and heal 4 damage every time for 2 resources. Um, it's just, yeah, it's been outclassed again by literally every other healing card. Um, so I don't see myself playing Lore Glorfindel ever. We've got uh, I do not really play Eleanor. May decide to put her lower. Actually, same for Spirit Eowyn. Yeah, I usually go for her Eowyn's tactics version if I'm using Eowyn, just because um, if I'm playing Spirit, you know what? I should move her down to B tier, because even C. Yeah, I'm gonna move her to C, because the reason for that is with Spirit, I'm not usually looking for that extra willpower because I've got other heroes that are giving me that willpower. So I'm moving Spirit Eowyn down to C tier, just because of that. The with the card pool having been expanded so much, there's so many other good ways to get that willpower into your deck if you're playing Spirit. Now, Tactics is a different story altogether, and so I've throw Tactics in there a lot. Um, yeah. Who do we got next? Barevor. Fun. At the rate this is going, there's a good chance we might not finish this today either. So if we don't end up finishing this tier list today, we'll we'll continue working on it in the coming weeks and stuff like that. And anyway, so we got 2 willpower, 2 attack, 2 defense, 4 hit points, 10 threat, and Dunedain Ranger. Exhaust Barevor to choose a player. That player draws 2 cards, limit once per round. Now, card draw is essential, and with so many ways to ready, especially with being lower and ranger, so you've got like Wingfoot, and you've got leather boots, and you got ways to ready her. The only thing I don't like about Barevor is I don't like these characters so much who are I don't tend to like these characters that are jack of all trades and they have an equal stat line. It's just I feel like any way I use her, any way I use that kind of a character, I'm not getting the most out of that character. Um, it doesn't feel to me. It doesn't feel versatile. It feels weak in every way. In some way, a 2 stat line is not bad, but it doesn't feel so much versatile. Most of the time, I'm going to be committing Barevor to the quest, honestly. Plus her card draw if I'm able to ready her and stuff like that. And drawing 2 cards, and for any player, it's not just you that can draw those 2 cards. It's any player. So I'm gonna put Barevor as B tier because you can have any player draw those 2 cards. So if somebody's struggling to draw, pull the cards they need or whatever, drawing those 2 cards is really really helpful. I just she's just not higher because I don't like her stat line. Uh, I tend towards heroes that can do one thing well and the other things they suck at. Um, so I think, um, yeah. Um, oh, this last comment, Martina. I think is on Glorfindel. Could be better with Elrond. Yeah, yeah, and it's just the threat is so high, on Glorfindel that it's just not worth playing. Um, yeah, and especially yeah after getting Spirit Glorfindel, never going back to Lord Glorfindel, which we will cover in a little bit here. He won't be too far down the line. Yeah. Anyway, back on Barevor. I like her ability is super good. I just don't like having this equal stat line where they are kind of okay-ish at everything, um, and not really good at anything. Except card draw. She's good at card draw, so she's still up there, but not really far up there. Bilbo Baggins, lore Bilbo. Now, I have only played Lore Bilbo once. And that was actually on Second Breakfast here. We played, I played a deck that had card draw as one of its attributes. Um, and if you saw that episode, we had so much card draw that both Ethan and I was the only one who had the card draw, but I was able to give him a lot of card draw too. If you saw that episode, both Ethan and I almost drew our entire deck that game. Um, and so after playing Bilbo Baggins, um, his stat line, I get it. His stat line is completely useless. Like he is completely useless in any and every way. Um, but in my opinion, I think the best thing to do, his ability is passive, so you don't have to exhaust him to use his ability. You just the first player draws an additional card, um, every round, and then um, being able to just what I would do with Bilbo is just boost his willpower and just have him committing to the quest all the time. Because if you have 3 or 4 willpower on him, I was playing songs, so I had significantly more than that on him. I was playing a songs deck as well, where I had the spirit song for +1 willpower for every song on him. So he had quite a bit of willpower, so I was able to commit him to the quest a lot. I think I was questing with like 5 or 6 willpower on him, which for one hero, now granted he is stacked then, so it's not a good number for a hero that's stacked with attachments or anything. But it's enough, I think, to justify having his card draw. For that reason, he is a lot of people will also take issue with his high threat because it really doesn't match the formula. It doesn't match his stat line. And he is a little bit high for threat. But he's also a hobbit, and if you're playing with him with other hobbits, that's not going to matter as much. And so, honestly, this is going to be one that's held in a lot of contention, but I'm going to put him at C tier. I almost want to put him in B, but I don't think he's quite a B tier. Um, just because his stat line is so absolutely abysmal. But I think there is definitely a strong use case for him because card draw is really good. It's really important, and yeah, to be able to first player draw 1 card every round, um, it contributes to that card draw, and you're going to be able to draw to those cards that you need to get out there. So a lot of people have a lot of hate for Lore Bilbo, but I kind of like him. I don't mind him, so I'm gonna put him kind of middle of the road, a little bit lower than average, just because his stat line is absolutely abysmal. Plus his threat cost is terrible, but getting that card draw is nice. Um, Especially hobbits where you've got quite a few like low cost cards and some key cards that you want to draw to. So I'm gonna put Lore Bilbo in C tier. Yeah, because. And if you don't like it, fight me. Um, so that was the first one of the expansion packs. So that's the first one from the first. That's Lore Bilbo is from the first adventure pack, which is Hunt for Gollum. I think I want to say. I don't know. I think it's Hunt for Gollum. Um, I haven't seen the ALAP version for Glorfindel. Um, Again, like I said, I haven't seen any of the ALAP heroes. And sometime I might I might do a little thing where I come on here and I kind of just go through the ALEP heroes and tell you just some initial first thoughts I have about them, because I think like I've seen glimpses of some of them and like kind of glossed over some of them a little bit, and some of them look really cool. So I think it'd be interesting to go through each of them and see what my initial impressions are for each of them. Okay, Frodo Baggins. Spirit Frodo. So, threat cost of 7, 2 willpower, 1 attack, 2 defense, and 2 hit points. Now, after Frodo is damaged, cancel the damage and instead raise your threat by the amount of damage he would have been dealt. Limit once per phase. Frodo, Spirit Frodo, without question, is best to use it as a defender. But he's also useful. He also has a use committing him to the quest. His 7 threat cost and gives you the 2 willpower. So you commit him to the quest, you give him a ready, and then be able to defend with him as well. Give him a little more defense, and you're assigning damage to your threat dial, which is usually not a problem, especially being in spirit and playing with hobbits. So that's usually not an issue to be raising your threat. Um, so he's a useful hero, and he's one of the few Hobbit heroes that is quite useful outside of a Hobbit deck. Um, I think he really is kind of a staple. I find myself throwing into quite a few decks. My brother, this is actually his favorite hero, is Spirit Frodo, and he's just really versatile to be able to throw into a deck and be able to take that damage on your threat dial when you need it. And so and then he can commit to the quest too. 7 threat cost for 2 willpower is not shabby. So um so he's definitely gonna be A tier, and I'm debating, would I put him in S tier? Let me just have a quick look over all these other heroes and see. I think so. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna throw him. We have our first S tier hero. I think Spirit Frodo is an S tier. Is S tier material. He can be a beast. When it and invaluable in a lot of different decks. And I think he does deserve an S tier position. Moving on, we got Prince Imrahil. So, Leadership Imrahil, 2 willpower, 3 attack, 2 defense. After a character leaves play, ready Prince Imrahil, limit once per round. Threat cost of 11. Now, this is having... I have never played this Prince Imrahil. And the thing is he's Gondor. You're going to be playing with him with a lot of Gondor. And the truth is, Gondor is expensive. And so you're not gonna... Gondor is one sphere that you don't really want characters leaving play. You want to put characters down, you want to beef them up, and you want them to stay there. So after a character leaves play, ready Prince Imrahil. Now, if you're playing with somebody who's playing like Sylvans or something, and he's getting and then he's getting that ready, but it's also limit once per round, which is just it's 1 ready, and it's 11 threat cost. His stat line is fairly decent, but again, he's pretty equal across the board. I mean, I guess you'd probably be questing with him and then readying him with his ability and then attacking. Stacking up a few different weapon or armor and stuff on him, and you could potentially use him as a viable defender, especially with like a Gondorian shield on him, giving him +2 defense. Making him 4 defense, 4 hit points, which is pretty decent. But 11 threat cost, and that ability is quite bad actually. Like honestly, like there's so many ways to ready, and having a character leave play just to ready, unless you're playing, across the table from somebody who's playing Sylvans or Eagles or something like that, he's not going to be that useful. And so I'm going to put him in D tier because I do see a small window of use cases. Plus Gondor, I mean, Gondor, you're usually playing leadership, so there's that as well. He's in the right sphere, but yeah, I would hardly ever use him, if ever. Plus his tactics version being so much better. Uh, Especially if you're going to be doing like Outlands with Prince of Dol Amroth. His tactics version just way outclasses the leadership version. I'm going to put him actually down in F tier. Okay, next we have... Is that Bard or Brand? Brand, Son of Bane. He's a tactics hero, 10 threat cost, 2 willpower, 3 attack, 2 defense, 3 hit points. Dale, ranged after Brand, Son of Bane attacks and defeats an enemy engaged with another player. Choose and ready one of that player's characters. Now this is really cool, actually. Um, I think this ability is really cool to be able to be ranged and then be more helpful on top of that. Um, Man, that's really cool. However, I have never played him, and I have never played anything Dale. So I personally don't know where on this chart I would put anything Dale. For that reason, I'm going to put anything Dale really into the NA tier because I don't feel like I can make a judgment call on anything Dale without having played Dale. So I haven't really played anything Dale yet. So I'm gonna put him down at the bottom here. This doesn't mean he's at the bottom tier. This just means I don't know what to do with it. I don't know where I would put it. So yes, Frodo also with undefended comes in clutch, especially if you're like undefended. Okay, I'll put it on this hero, and then a shadow card comes up and it's like, nope, that's gonna kill that hero. Throw it on Frodo, get it on your threat dial, and at least you have all your heroes still. So Frodo is definitely gonna be up there. Okay, Boromir. We got Tactics Boromir. 11 threat cost, 1 willpower, 3 attack, 2 defense, 5 hit points. Raise your threat by 1 to ready Boromir, limit once per phase, and then discard Boromir to deal 2 damage to each enemy engaged with a single player. Okay, I have played Boromir, and I find his top action here, raise your threat by 1 to ready Boromir, extremely useful. It's very useful. His bottom action I have never used, and I think it's a really expensive way to deal direct damage. Even if you Landreval him, or you've got Fortune of Fate or Houses of Healing or anything like that. Even if you do any of those things, to discard him and then all those cards are cost 5 unless you can reduce Houses of Healing, which is off sphere for him as well. So you're going to be playing lore with him. But all those cards are cost 5. They're really expensive to get him back. And it's just 2 damage to each enemy engaged with a single player. Typically you're only going to be... a player is only engaged most of the time with 2, maybe 3 enemies at the most in a game. Now, I say typically that can change depending on what quests you're playing and stuff like that. If you're playing through the Dwarf Delph where you got hordes of goblins coming in, or maybe Dream Chaser where you're taking on loads of Corsairs plus the ships and everything like that, I get that. But for the most part, it's just way too expensive to just deal 2 damage to each enemy engaged with one player. Now, if it was like deal 3 damage or 4 damage to each enemy, then I think it would be worth it to discard Boromir for 4 damage to each enemy. I think that would be worth it. But for only 2, I don't know that I would ever use that, ever, personally. So yeah, and then that also won't trigger any like Fall of Gilgalad, where you've got he has to be defeated in order to trigger that, so that won't trigger any of those. It's just a discard him to trigger that. So if he was able to trigger something like Fall of Gilgalad, then I'm like, okay, so then you deal 2 damage to each enemy engaged with a single player, then you reduce your threat by 11 and then get him back with the lantern ball. Like, okay, that's fine. But to just the 2 damage, it's not enough. It's not enough. So I am going to put Boromir in B tier because he is still Gondor and he is still tactics, and raising your threat by 1 to ready him is really useful. Beef him up as defender, defend with him, ready him, attack with him. Like, it's really useful, and it's a ready that you don't need to use unless you need it. So it's really good for an emergency. I'm gonna put him B tier because I do like him. I just his second ability is fairly lackluster. I guess there would be like the situation where you're playing 2 players and you're dying anyway, and then you just like, haha, take that and discard him because you're going out of the game anyway. That would be where I would use his ability, and I think that's the only place I would use his second ability. There is as you're going out, which is, I guess, thematic. Like, as you as a player are dying, you know, you just like, ha, take that and put 2 damage on all the enemies engaged with the other player, whatever. Or if they're, or you know, they might all be engaged with you. You might be relieving some pressure for the other player. They're all engaged with you, and then just put 2 damage on them all before they return to the staging area. Yeah, that's helpful. So I can see using that in that situation. Dane Ironfoot. Now, Leadership Dane. 11 threat, 1 willpower, 2 attack, 3 defense, 5 hit points. While Dane Ironfoot is ready, dwarf characters get +1 attack and +1 willpower. This guy is unquestionably going in S tier. If he could be put above S tier, like, there needs to be like broken tier above S tier because he is pretty broken. After I got the core set. After I got the core set, I got Dwarf, and then immediately after I bought Return to Mirkwood just so I could get Dane because he is so powerful with dwarf characters. And dwarves are practically unstoppable with Leadership Dane. You can, like, having every dwarf get +1 attack and +1 willpower. You can quest the heck out of anything, and you can attack and kill anything. Plus, him being a viable defender. Of course, if you use him as defender, you'll want to have a ready, like Armored Destry or something on him, so that you can ready him and then attack with all your dwarves, being at +1 attack. But it's just incredibly powerful. It's incredible how powerful he is, to the point where I haven't played him for quite some time, and I don't like playing him because he's so powerful and makes quick work of so many of the quests, just trashes them. So, I honestly don't really like playing him, but he's S tier because just how good he is. He really can. I think he is game breaking. Almost, almost. I mean, like, yeah, there's definitely quests that will defeat him, but um, but yeah, for the most part, he's incredibly powerful, and I don't usually play with him then because of how powerful he is. Dwalin, Spirit Dwalin, threat of 9. Yeah, yeah, Prince Imrahil being Gondor traded, you're definitely not wanting to pull back Gondor allies, really. So, yeah. Brand. Brand is one hero. Never played. Yeah, again, I've never played anything Dale, so that's why Brand is where he is in the it's essentially the tier that it's just like it's no comment. I can't comment on it. Can't comment on anything in that NA category because I really don't know. Dwalin, 9 threat, 1 willpower, 2 attack, 2 defense, 4 hit points. After Dwalin attacks and destroys an orc enemy, lower your threat by 2. Okay, Dwalin is specific, no doubt. Like, there's orcs in a lot of quests, but there's a lot of quests without orcs too. So I only would really ever use Dwalin, and his stat line is not great. Yeah, I don't like his stat line. It would be in my opinion his stat line would be better if he had 2 defense and 2 willpower and 1 attack. I think that would be better. And he's 9 threat cost, so he's one of the low threat cost dwarves. He's one of those. Which generally the low threat cost dwarves I don't generally like. And after he attacks an orc enemy, lower your threat by 2, which is really nice if you're playing a quest with lots of orcs. So if you're building a deck specifically against a quest, cool. Throw Dwalin in there because there's a bunch of orcs in there, and you're gonna get your automatic threat reduction. You're not gonna need to put anything else in for threat reduction, whatever. But for the most part, I don't like him. He's D tier. Moving on to Biffer. This guy is, again, one of the low threat cost dwarves. Pay 1 resource from a hero's resource pool to add 1 resource to Biffer's resource pool. Any player may trigger this ability limit once per round. Which is fine. I mean, some resource smoothing is not bad, but... And he's got that stat line that I wanted Dwalin to have. 2, 1, 2, 3. 7 threat, which is really low. Yes. But his only ability being pay a resource to add a resource to his pool. There's so many other ways that I'm going to be like, okay, I can get lower resources in many, many other ways. I'm going to put him right down here with Dwalin in D tier. Elrohir. 10 threat cost, 2 willpower, 2 attack, 1 defense. While Eladin is in play, Elrohir gets plus 2 defense. After Elrohir is declared as defender, pay 1 resource from his resource pool to ready him. This guy is good if you're playing Eladin. If you're not playing Eladin, he sucks. And so this is the Eladin Elrohir pair, and Eladin is pretty much the same thing. He's just tactics, and he's the attacking version instead of the defending version. And so I'm gonna put them together. And if I'm classifying them both together, I'm gonna put them A tier because Noldor is a good trait. Paying 1 resource to be able to ready each of them, you've got, it's essentially Aragorn, his ability there. And they're really powerful right off the bat, and then you can boost them if you're playing them together. Plus having the option to boost them already with the MOTK version, in other ways, so you have a little more flexibility that way. But he's a good defender, and Eladin is a good attacker right off the bat, and then being able to boost them, and then Noldor and Ranger, like those are some pretty good traits to be having. The only thing I guess is they're not really good spheres to have Noldor in. Noldor, you're generally more looking at spirit and lore. So, actually, for that reason, I'm putting them down at B tier because they're kind of out of sphere for playing anything Noldor. At the same time, you can play Ranger stuff on them, and that works just fine too. So, but I don't know if I've ever actually played an Eladin Elrohir pair, but they are quite powerful right out of the gate, off the bat, if you put them together. So they're gonna go there. Okay. Moving on, we've got Loragorn. So the lore version of Aragorn is 12 threat cost, 2 willpower, 3 attack, 2 defense, 5 hit points, Sentinel. Refresh action, reduce your threat to your starting level once per game. I mean, I don't think this will be under contention at all. I'm putting Loragorn S tier. He is my favorite. Now, what might be under contention is he is my favorite version of Aragorn. Some people may gravitate to Spirit or even Tactics Aragorn more. But Loragorn is, in my opinion, the best Aragorn. And just being able to straight up reduce your threat by, like, you know, often somewhere around 15 threat reduction once per game for free is insane. Incredibly insane. And then he's Aragorn, and so he's useful all around. Plus, lore is probably, in my opinion, lore is the best sphere. Yeah. So, just 1 second here. Sorry, I need just a second here to. Somebody texted me. Okay. Okay. So Lower Aragorn, S tier, unquestionably. I'm gonna put him S tier. And that's also the reason why the Water in the Water adventure pack is so scarce, because of the high demand for lore Aragorn. Okay, Hama, Rohan warrior, 1 willpower, 3 attack, 1 defense, 4 hit points, 9 threat cost. After Hama is declared as an attacker, return a tactics event from your discard pile to your hand, then choose and discard 1 card from your hand. Limit 3 times per game for the group. Okay. I'm putting Hama in F tier. I have never used Hama. And that is because there are, again, a lot better Rohan characters you can use. And the other thing is tactics events. I mean, I'm sure you could find a really good combo for him. But in general, tactics events, I think, are the worst events. I mean, it's one of the lesser liked spheres for sure as well, but events in particular for tactics are usually not very good. And so to be able to pull 1 tactics event, limit 3 times per game, like if it was unlimited, he would definitely be higher, but limit 3 times per game is pretty sad. I'm gonna put him D tier just because I don't think he's, I guess, completely useless necessarily, but his uses are very, very limited. Moving on to Glorfindel. Back to Glorfindel. We got the Spirit version, 5 threat cost, 3 willpower, 3 attack, 1 defense, and 5 hit points. After Glorfindel exhausts to commit to the quest, raise your threat by 1. Glorfindel is going right up to the top for me. He is so useful, so versatile. This is one of those cards that kind of knocks Eowyn or Spirit Eowyn down because he's got that willpower. He's got that willpower in the spirit sphere, and you get a crazy stat line for his threat cost. Um, and then so you get to his willpower for committing him to the quest. You get his attack for attacking enemies. Now, he doesn't have an ability. He has a weakness. After Glorfindel exhausts to commit to the quest, raise your threat by one. And really, that's gonna happen like once or twice in the game before you get something. Get well before you get Light of Valinor on him. Um, and so if you're playing him, you're gonna be playing Light of Valinor, and you're gonna have all three copies because you're gonna want Light of Valinor on him. And then you get the Light of Eleanor on him, and he's not exhausting to commit to the quest anyway. So you get this stat line for 5, probably 6 or 7 threat cost, generally, which is nuts. So he is one of my favorite heroes. So we'll go S tier for him. Elrond, um, 13 threat, 3 willpower, 2 attack, 3 defense, 4 hit points. You may spend resources from Elrond's resource pool to pay for any sphere allies. After a character is healed by another card effect, heal 1 damage on it. And then you've got Vilya you can be playing on this guy too. And he is like everything about him, and I don't think this is gonna be under any amount of contention either. Everything about him, everything he does is so useful. Being able to play for any sphere allies um, is amazing. And then also his extra healing, you have 1 or 2 healers out on the table, and you can heal. You can keep the entire board consistently healed. So he completely solves any problems you might have with healing. He completely solves any problems you might have with resource smoothing. Plus, he's going to be able to quest, he's going to be able to defend, and he's going to, with Vilya, be able to put out cards for free. He's a 13 threat cost, rightfully so, because he's so good. But Elrond has to go S tier because he is probably, in my opinion, Elrond is probably the best hero in the game. Not necessarily my favorite, but as far as in terms of the most useful, most versatile, I think he's the best hero in the game. I'm gonna pause here for a second, and we'll take a short break here, and I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, we are back. I see you missed something about Eladin and Elro here. Again, I haven't used Eladin and Elro here. They would be really good in 300's deck, which I think my brother. The only time I've seen them played is when my brother played them and he was running a 300's deck. So they'd be perfect in a 300's deck, but I don't have a lot of experience with them. Anyway, Thorongil Glorfindel to Alep version. I have no idea what Alep version does, and um, so I can't really comment on that. But eventually, one day, we're gonna do an Alep. Um, we're gonna do an Alep hero reaction, and it's gonna push me over the edge to wanting to get Alep. Probably because of how cool the heroes are. I'll be like, oh, I want to build a deck with that. So one day we might do an Alep. I might just look over all the Alep heroes and comment on them and be like, oh, now I really want Alep. But we'll see. Okay, where are we? Baragond. Baragond. Now, if you're looking for a defender in tactics, Baragond is pretty much the way to go. And he's Sentinel, so he can defend across the table. And you can play weapon on armor attachments on him for a discount of 2, which is incredible. And all he'll be doing is defending. Now, I think Baragond is. I think Tactics Baragond is going to be A tier. And I think because I think I think he is definitely outclassed by Spirit Baragond. Um, he really is. He's outclassed by Spirit Baragond, but he still has his usefulness because he is Tactics Sphere. So it really depends whether you're going to play Tactics or Spirit Baragond. It's going to depend on what sphere you need. Um, so he's going to go A tier. And being outclassed by Spirit Baragond. I wonder where Spirit Baragond's gonna go. You might disagree with me, but I think he is. He's a go-to defender for me. Either version, whatever I'm looking for as far as defense, he's a go-to. Boromir. Well, Boromir has at least one resource in his resource pool. Gondor allies get +1 attack, 1 willpower, 3 attack, 2 defense, 5 hit points, and 11 threat cost. Now, in a Gondor deck, Boromir is solid. And not in a Gondor deck, he's completely useless. So, and I've only played a Gondor. I haven't played Gondor strictly, like a Gondor deck, very much, and I think it's hard to build a Gondor deck, honestly. And personally, I think it's harder to build a Gondor deck than a Rohan deck. A lot of people talk about how hard it is to build a Rohan deck, but I think Gondor is even if a Gondor traded deck centered around the Gondor trait, I think is really difficult to build. Um, and for that reason, since he also doesn't have really any usage outside of Gondor decks, um, and I mean, visionary leadership and stuff on him is gonna give him. You're gonna keep a resource in his pool, and then he's gonna be really powerful and stuff in the Gondor deck. So I think he is one of probably the more essential Gondor characters. So I'm gonna put him C tier because he doesn't have any use case outside of a Gondor deck, but inside of Gondor deck, he's pretty decent. If you can build a Gondor deck, but I haven't built or played much Gondor, at least much that is actually centered around the Gondor trait. Hirluin. Hirluin. 8 threat, 1 of each stat, and then 4 hit points ranged. And you can use resources from Hirluin the Fair's resource pool to pay for Outlands cards of any sphere. Now, Hirluin is Outlands. He's the only Outlands hero, and that's what he does. If you're building Outlands deck, you go Hirluin. Like, it's and he's gonna allow you to now. I guess if you had Elrond, you could also play Outlands without Heirloin, technically, and um, and you just won't get the bigger stat line that your Heirloin has. But Heirloin is also 5 less threat cost. And so generally, you're playing Outlands, you're gonna play Heirloin, and then he's also in the right sphere to play um, Steward of Gondor, and get resources really generating on him, plus Men of the West, where you need lots of resources to get Outlands from your discard, and then you need the resources to play them. So you need lots of resources on him, and then but if you get Steward of Gondor on him, easy. I recently built and have been playing my most recent build. Actually, this is the deck that I have together right now. Oh, kind of. Oh, it must be in my box. Yeah. So this is the deck that I currently have together. Is Heirloin, Cyrodiil, and Dane, and it's a mining deck. I mine for Outlands, and then spit them back out with Men of the West. Just about every time I've played this deck, I've gotten every Outlands character onto the table by the end of the game, which playing single player gets you over 60 willpower for questing, and then you can just imagine attack and defense enemies are not a problem. So, yeah, I know this rating is going to be more based on the actual Outlands trait than Heirloin himself. But Heirloin himself is really good, and he is essential to this Outlands deck that I have. And so I'm going to put him A tier because I would put him S tier. If I was going just based on what Outlands can do and what Outlands does, I would put him S tier all the way. But I'm putting him A tier just because he's useless in anything else. Can't use him outside of Outlands. There's just not really anything to do with him then. So I'm going to put him A tier for that reason alone. If he was, yeah, if I was grading him just on on Outlands and how well he worked in an Outlands deck and stuff, he's going to be S tier. But just because he can't really do anything outside of Outlands, he's going A. Merlond. Sylvan. Each hero you control with a printed lore resource icon gets -1 threat cost, 8 threat, 2 willpower, 2 attack, 1 defense, and 3 hit points. Now Merlond kind of has the thing going where I was talking about before. She's kind of jack of all trades, but even worse. Like, she only has the 1 defense and then 3 hit points, so she can't really defend. She can, like, she reduces your starting threat, and she's a low threat hero. And so often when I am building a deck, often I realize when I'm building a deck, I'm like, okay, there's gonna be probably one character in here that I am committing to the quest like every turn, and that's just gonna be how it's gonna be. And so Merlond is one of those characters where it's like, okay, she's got 2 willpower. She's going to be committing to the quest every turn. That's about all I'm getting out of her. Plus the reduced threat. But there's different characters that have better abilities that you can throw in there for the 2 willpower a turn. So, and she doesn't really do anything Sylvan traded. Like, she doesn't have, if you're building a Sylvan deck, you're not really going to be playing Merlond as a Sylvan hero. You're not going to play her as her for her Sylvan trait. You're going to play her in anything else. Something mono lore, obviously. But even then, her use cases are not many at all. I'm gonna put her F tier just because, yeah, she doesn't really have a whole lot of use. Spirit Pippin. If each hero you control has the Hobbit trait, Pippin gains after an enemy engages you, raises threat by 3 to return it to the staging area until the end of the round. That enemy cannot engage you. Now, you're not going to be really wanting to, if you're playing Hobbits, you're not really going to be wanting to raise your threat that much because you want the enemy's engagement cost to always be higher than your threat. But at the same time, I can see it because Hobbits, you can get easily overwhelmed if there's too many enemies coming at you, so you can use Pippin to bounce him back to the staging area, but in general, for the most part, you don't want to bounce enemies back to the staging area. Like, it's just not generally a good idea, not a good way to play. And then raising your threat by 3 to do that is kind of expensive. 6 threat cost with the 2 willpower, so he's always committing to the quest, but his ability is not that useful. So let's put him C tier because I have used him. And he has been good, but generally he's not great. And I think that one will be in contention for some people because a lot of people I think will put him quite a bit lower. They'll put him F tier. But I think as a Hobbit, he does have a bit of a place, especially if you're going to be doing a Bond of Friendship and you're like, oh, what do I want for Spirit? I mean, you're going to obviously pick Spirit Frodo, but, uh, you know, I don't know. I don't know. I do see the use case for him, but as a general rule, I wouldn't use him that much. Boromir. Now, I like the idea of Boromir. When you're playing a bunch of traps and he's getting +1 attack for each enemy in the staging area, and so he's gonna get that extra attack, but it's really not enough attack to justify his threat cost, plus him being, again, the jack of all trades with a 2 of every stat is annoying. I hate that so much. He is ranged, which is nice, but I do have him as part of a trap deck. Maybe I switched him out. He's just not good. Like, sure, he's ranger and lore, which makes him easy to ready and stuff too, um but he's not as like abysmal as some of these other heroes can be. So let's put him also in C tier. Because I think I would use him sometimes, but not usually. D tier is stuff that I would almost never use except for a very specific scenario. F tier is just I would never use that hero. Okay. Caldara. Now, Caldara is one of those heroes that you have to build around. With an 8 threat cost, 2 willpower, 1 attack, 2 defense, 3 hit points, and then discard Caldara to put 1 spirit ally from your discard pile into play for each other hero you control with a printed spirit resource icon. When you get this set up and when you do it right, pulling like 4 or 5 allies, like high cost spirit allies, Glorfindel, Joubert, and stuff like that, from your discard pile, boom, right out onto the board, and then Fortune or Fate or whatever you want to do for Caldara to get her back. This discard ability is definitely worth it. More worth it than Boromir, and not only that, not only is it worth it, it's a lot of fun. It's just fun. So I'm gonna put Caldara as an A tier because when you get it set up, she is really good. She's really fun. She's really useful, but it takes quite a bit to get it set up. in game and before the game. Like you have to build around her, and then you have to set it up in game as well to be able to pull all those cards from your discard. But it's a lot of fun when you do. So she's not S tier material because she's not that great, but she is a strong choice if you do build around her. Theoden. Each tactics hero with a printed tactics resource icon gets +1 willpower. 12 threat cost, 2 willpower, 3 attack, 2 defense, Sentinel, 4 hit points, and Rohan. So this is going to be probably A tier because, again, similar to Tactics Eowyn, it's a really good way to get that willpower into the tactics sphere, which is really hard to do. You getting that willpower in the tactics sphere, that's difficult usually to do, and so he can be quite helpful. So, yeah. I mean, the 12 threat cost is quite high, but I think, yeah, no, I gotta move him down. We'll go B tier for now because of the 12 threat cost is quite high, but it is, and he's got quite a bit of willpower himself, so it's good willpower in the tactic sphere. So he got 3 willpower with his ability. Plus, he's giving each of your other tactics heroes +1 willpower, possibly making Thalin a viable character to play. So, anyway, I like him. He's not. He just. I don't think he quite maybe justifies his threat cost though. Tactics Eowyn. 10 threat, 1 willpower, 3 attack, 2 defense, 4 hit points. After a character leaves play, Eowyn gets +2 attack until the end of the round. Now, this is a characters leaving play useful ability because with Prince Imrahil, he's Gondor. You're not wanting characters you leave play. Rohan, you got characters leaving play all the time because you're discarding characters to be able to do their ability, and then not only that, you also get the usefulness of Eomer's ability, so it makes discarding that character worth that little bit extra, and he's got 5 attack then. Ready him with the, and it's limit once, or it's until the end of the round. So, not just for this attack. So you've got, you put a Rohan Warhorse on there. He's attacking 2 enemies for 5 attack, and it's not hard to do. Plus, you're getting whatever benefit the Rohan ally you discarded gave you, or whatever. His ability is easy to trigger. You're gonna be triggering it almost every round. So I think it's worth it. I don't know that I've actually personally ever played Eomer, but 10 threat cost isn't too bad. I'm gonna put him A tier because I think he could be really good. Plus a lot of the horses, a lot of the mounts you can put on him to improve him. He's got whatever his horse is too, Firefoot, I think, that allows him to get extra attack and other things. So pretty good. Grima. So 9 threat, 2 willpower, 1 attack, 2 defense, 3 hit points. Rohan, lower the cost of the next card you play from your hand this round by 1, and that card gains Doomed 1. Now, Doomed is tricky to build, and Rohan is somewhat tricky to build too. But being able to reduce cost on cards on command, and then it gains Doomed 1, like, especially if you were playing with... no, Saruman really only does Doomed Events, I think. Let me just see. So this might affect the rating I give Grima. No, after you play a card with the doomed keyword ready Saruman. Although, well, no, I guess that's not helpful because if you're playing an ally or attachment and giving it doomed 1, you're not going to be readying Saruman because that's going to be in the planning phase. And then if you're giving an event doomed 1, if you're playing a doomed deck, they're all doomed anyway and low cost, so that doesn't really help anyway. So, not super helpful there. And then as far as, but being able to lower the cost of Rohan allies, especially if you're playing this guy with Spirit Theoden, being able to then lower the cost of the first Rohan ally you play each round by 2. That gives you a good amount for Rohan allies, but giving it doomed 1 is also the drawback to that. And then his stat line, this is going to be, again, one of those characters that you put in and then you just always you put him in and then you just always commit him to the quest, and he's just always going to be 2 willpower plus lend you his ability, which for 9 threat isn't bad, but it's not great either, and it's quite hard to work with Rohan in lore. So for that reason, for all those reasons, I'm gonna put him D tier. And yeah, Keldara is gonna turn Prince Imrahil into a hero. So I guess there's not as much reason to bring her back if Prince Imrahil is a hero, because once she comes back, then Prince Imrahil is no longer a hero. So there's not a lot of reason to bring her back if you've got Prince Imrahil, and of course you're playing Prince Imrahil with Keldara. That's just how it's gonna be. So yeah. Okay. Celeborn. Celeborn is Sylvan Noble. After a Sylvan ally enters play, that ally gets +1 to their stats until the end of the round. 3 willpower, 2 attack, 2 defense, 4 hit points, 11 threat. Celeborn is obviously you're going to be bouncing Sylvan allies in and out of play all the time. And then with the 3 willpower on him, plus being able to do other things as well, definitely justifies that 11 threat cost. I'm putting Celeborn up at A tier because he doesn't do anything. I mean, his stat line is okay, but you're not gonna play him outside of a Sylvan deck generally. But within a Sylvan deck, like having boosting all of the Sylvan stats up by 1 every when they enter play, and you're just bouncing them in and out of play all the time, like that's gonna be really useful. Idran. 11 threat, 2 willpower, 3 attack, 2 defense, 4 hit points. After a location is explored, ready Idran. Now this is one that I really want to like, and I've tried to put her in so many decks, and I don't think she ever really quite justifies this 11 threat cost. She's really good. She's got essentially Aragorn's stat line minus one hit point, and then she gets a ready most turns, a lot of turns. So you can use her to quest and then attack or defend, whichever. But Spirit and then her being Dunedain and Ranger, she's already fairly easy to ready. And she just to justify that 11 threat cost is quite difficult. I'm gonna put her C tier because let's do B because I think you can use her, and I don't think it's terribly difficult, but I don't think she quite has she doesn't have enough use cases quite enough to justify this 11 threat cost. So I'm gonna put her. No, I'm gonna move her down to C. I'm gonna put her in C. I'm gonna leave her there. That's where she's staying in C tier. Okay. Haldir. Now this is the other one that I believe can attack into the staging area. Yes. Against an enemy not engaged with you. So you can attack into the staging area, you can attack somebody else's. And this is going to be, he's going to help you keep your threat low, which is what you're going to want to do to use his ability. Other than attacking, he doesn't do much. You're going to, I mean, he's ranger, so you can put wingfoot, leather boots, or whatever on him to use him to commit him to the quest, and then as well as attack with him. So he's really cool. He's also Sylvan. He doesn't do anything. His ability doesn't affect any Sylvans, which, I mean, makes him less useful than some other heroes in a Sylvan deck, but also makes him more useful in something that's not Sylvan. And he's ranged, so you're going to be able to attack with him. Even if you engage an enemy, you can attack the other player's enemy with him as well. But if you don't engage an enemy, you can just attack literally any enemy on the board that's not engaged with you, which is really cool. So you can attack in the staging area. Especially if he starts shooting like legacy blades out of his bow or something like that, like with Dune here. So I'm gonna put him right up with Dune here on B tier, cause yeah, I don't think he's necessarily as powerful or as much of a staple for me as some of these other heroes. But he is definitely not bad at all. Mablung. 10 threat. And 2 willpower, 2 attack, 2 defense, 4 hit points. After you engage an enemy, add 1 resource to Mablung's resource pool. Now, again, he's got this Jack of all trades stat line, which I don't like. At the same time, though, he's Gondor and gives you more resources, which is automatically a good thing, because Gondor needs resources. So you're getting the extra resources. So you're playing something like Gondorian Fire or whatever too. You can quickly stack up a lot of attack on him with Gondorian Fire. So I think he's better than some of the other ones with a 2 stat line all the way down. But also limit once per phase can be like, it would be nice if you could just like engage 3 enemies during the encounter phase and then put 3 resources on him. Would be fun. But that bonus resource always feels really good. I'll put him in C tier. Yeah, I do like him. And then he's ranger too. Again, being able to do like wingfoot or leather boots to ready him, so you can quest with him and then attack with him later once you've got some Gondorian Fire stacked on him and he's running. Okay, Galadriel. Now, this character, this hero is, I know several people who, like, this is their favorite hero. And at a 9 threat cost, she's pretty cheap for the 4 willpower, and you can do lots of different tricks and stuff with her. Mirror of Galadriel can be really useful for finding cards, especially as soon as you get a silver harp, where you just are then able to, as soon as you get a silver harp, she allows you to use the mirror, and then you can just use the mirror to find literally any card in the top 4 cards or top 10 cards of your deck. And I think that is probably her most useful ability, in my opinion, is when you get the mirror down, with a silver harp, which you can put on her, or somebody else. But you get the mirror and a silver harp, and then use the silver harp to not discard, or to discard the random card, but then draw it right back. That's hard to beat, because that that is probably the easiest and best way to find a card in your deck, other than gather information, but you can only have one copy of gather information in your deck, so it's probably one of the most reliable ways to find cards in your deck. Plus, then she being able to reduce threat and draw cards, or to put that willpower on the quest. It's easy to really see why she is a favorite for a lot of people. But she does, at the same time, require a good amount of setup to be able to do anything. And I've played so many games with her. I like Galadriel, don't get me wrong, but I have played so many games with her where she just doesn't get her things and doesn't do what I need her to do. Um, so for that reason alone, she is not going to be S tier. I'm gonna put Galadriel in A tier, because setup on her can be a little bit difficult. And you don't get it every game. You can, yeah, it's her Mirror of Galadriel is really useful for finding cards, but if you can't find Mirror of Galadriel, that kind of sucks. Okay, Erkenbrand. Threat of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stat line. Sentinel. While he's defending, he gains deal 1 damage to Erkenbrand to cancel a shadow effect just triggered. Now, the ability I don't think is that great, because generally, a lot of the time where you're wanting to cancel shadow effects is because you just defended and you're within 1 hit point of dying, and that shadow card pushed you over to the edge in a lot of cases, and so his response isn't going to matter that much anyway. There are some use cases, like you're triggered a shadow effect that discards attachments or something like that, he's gonna really come in clutch for that. At the same time, he's a really good defender. He's Sentinel with 3 defense and 4 hit points. You can boost that up a little bit. But I think there are better Rohan characters as well. And so I'm gonna put. I don't know that I've ever played Erkenbrand. I'm gonna put him in C tier, because I would use him. I'm gonna move Aragorn, leadership Aragorn, to B tier as well, because mostly because you can Thorongil leadership Aragorn. I would normally not start with leadership Aragorn unless I need access to leadership sphere. I would normally not start with leadership Aragorn, and I would normally not Thorongil leadership Aragorn onto any of the other Aragorns, because all the other Aragorns are better. But anyway, that's a bit of a detour there. Yeah, that would be a good combo there with Haldir, Glorfindel, and Eowyn. Keep your threat really low, and just attack stuff in the staging area. But yeah, so that's definitely a good way to go. Or even if you played Haldir and Dune here, like Dune here, you're attacking alone with Dune here. Haldir you don't necessarily have to. Although, wait, is it just +1 attack for when he? Oh no, he can only do it when he attacks alone. Okay, so he can't do it. But I mean, if you played Dune here and Haldir and then attacked 2 enemies in the staging area, it's not bad. It's not bad. Or the same enemy twice. No, you can only declare an attack against an enemy once, I think, per turn. Or per... I don't know now. I don't know if you can do 2 attacks against the same enemy. Anyway, but if you played both of them and then just... Because they're both pretty low threat, too. And then just attack enemies in the staging area and don't even take them. You don't even need defenders, really. Yeah. That would be cool. Anyway, off track. Erkenbrand. Yeah, I'm gonna put him C tier. Okay. Aragorn. We are now in the Angmar Awakened cycle. Woohoo! We made it this far. Aragorn is a threat of 12, 2 willpower, 3 attack, 2 defense, 5 hit points, just like every other Aragorn. Each enemy engaged with you gets -1 defense, and after Aragorn participates in an attack that destroys an enemy, choose an enemy not engaged with you and engage that enemy. So this Aragorn really plays into that Dunedain thing where you're engaging enemies and get rewarded for it. But I think I've played this Aragorn once, and he is my second least favorite Aragorn. This is my brother's favorite version of Aragorn. So he's got to be higher than leadership Aragorn, or in the same tier. He can't be lower, because he's my second least favorite. There's my brother. There he is, coming out to defend Aragorn. No, we're gonna. He goes S, right, straight to S. No, I'm gonna put him B tier. Sorry, Ethan. We're gonna put the Tactics Aragorn in B tier because yeah, he's one of the lesser Aragorns, in my opinion. And you can probably see where Spirit Aragorn will end up going. Yes, I put Frodo in S for you. No, not just for you, but he's just good all around. We've got Halbarad next. Okay, again? No, this is the only Halbarad. I don't know why I think we've already covered Halbarad, but Dunedain Ranger, again, he's the... Okay, bye, Bean. So, while you're engaged with an enemy, Halbarad does not exhaust to commit to a quest. You may optionally engage one additional enemy during the encounter phase. He again plays into the Dunedain, engage enemies, engage lots of enemies, and being able to optionally engage a second enemy can be really good, especially if you're if the player you're playing with is not really doesn't really have that much attack and stuff, and then they're gonna get an enemy right on them. Yeah, I like you can Galadriel is useful even with nothing on her already. Like reducing your threat and gaining a card is really good, and being able to give that to any player. Like I get that. I just there's so often I've played with her where I'm waiting and waiting and waiting to pull this one thing because I want to do that with her instead, and the one threat reduction and card draw feels a little bit wasted. So I yeah, so that's why she's not S tier on my list. But again, Halbarad, going back to Halbarad here, he has the Jack of all trades stat line, which I don't like, but not exhausting to commit to the quest makes up for that a little bit in some ways. And then being Dunedain, you can be playing signals and stuff with him, and taking his stat line really any way you want to. And then engaging that one additional enemy is nice. Not having to exhaust a quest is nice. I'm gonna put Halbarad and he's on Sphere. Dunedain is leadership all the way, for the most part. So if you're playing Dunedain, he's really, really good. If you're not playing Dunedain, he's less than useful. Oh man, this one's tough. B tier. I had to put him B tier. Okay. Merry. Now, if I'm playing a Hobbit deck, I'm usually playing Tactics Merry. Because you get that attack that you need. But Spirit Merry is almost always going to be Thorongilled onto Tactics Merry then, in that case. That threat reduction is really good, and so you do need to get a ready or two onto Merry, just because then you need to exhaust Merry to do this threat reduction, but that threat reduction is really powerful. For that reason, Merry is going in A tier, because Merry is one of the best, most reliable threat reduction cards, and one of those cards that can get you that with Spirit Merry, he's one of those cards that can reduce your threat so that to the point where by the end of the game you're at less threat than what you started with. So can pretty much negate needing to worry about threat. Not quite S tier, but definitely a good card. Actually, I've never played Spirit Merry outside of a Hobbit deck, but that would actually work too. Especially if you got two other like really high threat heroes, and then you can use Merry to commit to the quest, put a ready on him, and then commit him to the quest. He's given you the 2 willpower every turn, plus being able to do his response, and you can trigger his response multiple times. So if an enemy is revealed from the top of the encounter deck more than once in a turn, you can, instead of using him to quest, you can use that ability twice and maybe get 6 threat reduction kind of thing or whatever. Like, that's pretty good. Like, and for only a 6 threat cost, he's easily going to pay for himself during the game. So, not quite S tier because he's not quite that powerful, I don't think, but definitely a real powerful. I really should try and build a deck with him, without doing a Hobbit, not in a Hobbit deck. That would be really cool. Really useful. Rossiel, 8 threat, 2 willpower, 1 attack, 2 defense. If the active location shares a trait with a location in the victory display, she gets +2 willpower. If the attacking enemy shares a trait with an enemy in the victory display, she gets +2 defense. So this makes her possibly a viable defender, possibly a viable, or a really viable quester. And really, it's not that hard to get into the victory display locations or enemies that share traits with each other, because most of them in most of the quests will share traits between each other, because they're all kind of themed around the same thing for the most part. So a lot of them will end up sharing traits. So this isn't hard to trigger this, and then 4 willpower with 4 defense, and then being able to ready her. She's Sylvan. I don't know how much you'd have to use her in a Sylvan deck necessarily, how helpful she would be. But again, the less helpful she is in a Sylvan deck, the more helpful she is outside a Sylvan deck as well. So, and then only 8 threat cost. And this victory display thing, I haven't really played the victory display thing. I think it could be extremely useful. I'm gonna have to put her in NA for now because I haven't tried the victory display thing, and I don't know well how useful her ability is within that would be, um, and how well the victory display thing really works. So I'm gonna put her in NA for now. I'm not gonna comment on it, on what she does. Nori. Okay, so a hero with a threat of 9. After you play a dwarf character from your hand, reduce your threat by 1. Where is... What? Oh, no. That's Spirit. No, this is not Nori. This is... Oh, what? No. Who is this? I cannot tell. Dory. Dory. Yeah, there we go. Okay. 10 threat cost. 1 willpower. 2 attack, 2 defense, 5 hit points. Sentinel. After another hero is declared as defender, exhaust Dory to add his defense to the defending hero's attack defending hero's defense for this attack. So I'm going to come right out and say I have not played Dory. And probably the biggest reason for this is that his ability is kind of stupid. Why would you waste a perfectly good defender to add 2 defense to another defender when you could just put an attachment to let the other character defend better? Like, unless you're like needing to stack up a defender and then you have a really big enemy that you want to put more attack, like you're playing Battle of Lake Town where you're wanting to put more defense on that guy, like, you know, if you have already 6 defense on a character and then you need more in addition, but most quests you won't need more than that, and then do healing instead. Like, I don't know. I really don't see much use for Dory, especially at a 10 threat cost. Like, it's, yeah, I'm gonna put him F tier. That said, I haven't played with him, so you know, that sometimes can really change what you think of the character. But having not played with Dory, I don't think I ever will, because I think his ability is so dumb. And Martina says we're getting closer to her favorite heroes, so we'll see how this goes down. You might unsubscribe by the end of this. Okay, so we've got Aristor. Definitely a Noldor character, and draw 3 additional cards at the beginning of the resource phase. At the end of the round, discard all the cards in your hand. So this can be frustrating when you pull a bunch of cards that you really want to play all of them, but at the same time, it can be really freeing too, because you draw so many extra cards. You're drawing 4 cards baseline, 4 cards every turn, and then you can not feel bad about using those cards up as Noldor stuff. Again, he has this Jack of all trades stat line, and his stat line is really hard to pick a direction for and make it better somehow. And the best thing you can do with him, I think, is probably Protector of Lorien and being able to discard those extra cards for extra willpower and defense. But like, it's usually in Noldor you have better uses for those cards. But man, he's a lot of fun to play. I will say that. And I actually have and if you're with Perilous Voyage, you have those cards to you have the extra cards to be able to cycle through your deck that quickly like that. I have a Perilous Voyage deck built with him in it, and it's a lot of fun. But it can be really annoying to have like 4 cards and it's like, oh, I want to play like 3 of them, but you don't have enough resources and you can't save it for next round. Unless you have like a Silver Harp or something like that, then you can. But seeing sometimes seeing those cards pass you by can be really disappointing. And so I'm gonna put him in B tier because discarding those cards can sometimes be painful, and because of his 2 stat line across the board is frustrating as well. So we'll put him in B tier. Almost A tier, on the verge, kind of between the two, but I'm going to put him in B tier. A Marthwheel. This another Dunedain one, like, fits into that. Engage enemies. While you're engaged with at least 1 enemy, he gains tactics. And while you're engaged with at least 2 enemies, add an additional resource to a Marthwheel's pool when you collect resources during the resource phase. Now, normally when you're playing this Dunedain kind of engage a lot of enemies kind of thing, you're going to be looking mostly at leadership and tactics. So being able to have him as both leadership and tactics is really nice. Plus his stat line is cool, being a very combat heavy stat line with no willpower, so you're not going to be wanting to quest with him and stuff, but he's pretty combat focused, and being able to then stack into that attachments onto him is going to be fun. Some pretty good bonuses for being engaged with enemies, extra resources, extra versatility with resources. So he's pretty good. Again, I don't think he's the greatest thing ever. I'm going to put him right up with B tier with the likes of Halbarad and Aragorn, Tactics Aragorn. Put him in there. Okay, now we got Arwen. Now, Arwen is another one that gets talked about a lot as being super good. And she is another one that has that willpower to be able to like really kind of replace Eowyn in some ways. But she gives the resource, which is really nice. And usually is very much needed, especially when playing with something like Aristor or something. You can trade that card for a resource to be able to play that extra card, kind of thing. But other than that 3 willpower, she herself is not gonna do a whole lot. She's gonna commit to the quest every round, and then give you resources. Which I don't know how valuable those resources necessarily are. If they are necessarily that valuable. And so I think she's gonna go in B tier for me. She is still good. Yeah, Dory. I don't see myself playing him either. But yeah, Arwen. I think I'm gonna have to put her B tier just because I I don't see her as being much more useful than that. Her 3 willpower is nice, but there's other spirit heroes with more willpower as well. And then the extra resource um, at the cost of a card can sometimes be good, but a card is a pretty steep cost as well. So she's going to be B tier. Círdan. Círdan the Shipwright. Threat of 12. Draw 1 additional card at the beginning of the resource phase. After drawing cards at the beginning of the resource phase, choose and discard one of those cards. And Noldor as well. 4 willpower, 2 attack, 2 defense, 4 hit points. I love Círdan. Like, I have been playing Círdan quite a bit lately, and being able to draw 2 cards and then discard one of them, yeah, sure, you gotta discard one of them, or get a silver harp and you're automatically at +1 card draw every turn. Um, or and it just gives you a way, like, you're pulling those useless uniques. Oh, I just discard that useless unique. Like, I don't need it. Now in Noldor, Noldor Sphere, if you're playing him in a Noldor deck, I mean, no card is useless. So those useless uniques will do other things. But I find him really helpful even outside of Noldor. Just having such a high willpower and being able to find the cards that you need so much faster than normal. So that threat of 12 is definitely well worth it. And in my opinion, Círdan is S tier material. We have another S tier hero. I love using Círdan. Galdor of the Havens. 9 threat, 2 willpower, 2 attack, 1 defense, 4 hit points. After drawing your setup hand, instead of taking a mulligan, you can discard as many cards, any number of cards from your hand, then draw that many cards. If you have no cards in your hand, draw 6 cards, once per game. This is really cool for Noldor, and I can see the potential comboing this with Aristor. You're gonna have a big turn. Although then you're gonna have a big turn, like right out of the gate. You're gonna have so many cards you don't know what to do with. So you're gonna, I guess no, because action it's optional. You can, um, an action is optional, and so you could use it whenever you wanted. So comboing him with Aristor could be really good to get like a really big turn, at some point. Uh, and then having the versatility to be able to, instead of just taking a mulligan straight up, you got like, oh, I've got one of the cards I really need. I want that other card that I really need. So then just discarding, the rest of your cards and drawing more. That's pretty good for a 9 threat cost. That's not bad. His stat line is quite weak, but again, he's only 9 threat cost. How much more do you want him to do, really? Like, um, yeah. So I'm gonna put Galdor. I'm gonna put Galdor in C tier, I think, because as much as his abilities and stuff are good, his stat line is really frustrating to me. And when you have high hit points and low defense, um, high hit points and low defense, I really, really dislike. Um, because he's only gonna defend one time, really. Like he's not gonna maybe defend one time, and then so his hit points seem a little useless, other than maybe archery soak. Um, but I would and I put him in C tier because I definitely would choose Aristor over him, although they would make a good combo together as well. Let's see what we got in comments here. Aristor is one of them. I would rank higher. Okay, that's fair. He does change the way you build your deck. Um, yeah, you're gonna build your deck way differently if you're playing Aristor, and he can work really well. But I just um, sometimes to me Aristor is really frustrating to play. And the two stat line across the board is again something I really dislike. Um, Disagree with most of your comments and rankings. Arwen is B tier. Yeah, I know. A lot of people are gonna um, have an issue for sure with Arwen being B tier, and I just I don't really understand exactly why she is thought of so highly, because I don't really see it. Like, an extra resource at the cost of a card is, yeah, not super great in my opinion. And then having 3 willpower, well, I can get 4 with Eowyn or Círdan, and she's not really going to do anything else other than commit to the quest. Um, yeah, so that's, yeah. But yeah, a lot of people will disagree with me for sure on that one. Uh, yeah. Okay. Got Denethor next. Leadership Denethor. Add 2 resources to Denethor's resource pool. Move 1 resource from Denethor's resource pool to another Gondor's hero's resource pool. A 1 willpower, 1 attack, 3 defense, 3 hit points. He can give you a lot of help for startup. Like, that 2 extra resource right on startup is um can be really really useful. And then being able to resource smooth with him as well, to be able to, if you have a multi-sphere deck, and then he's a good Gondor defender again as well. So I'm gonna have to put him right with his lore counterpart, Leadership Denethor, because I think he can give you that much better of a start. He almost gives you the easy mode setup on your you getting the 2 extra resources, and one of them you can move to another hero's pool, so you get 5 resources right off the bat on your heroes. Can be really powerful. And that start is where those resources are going to matter the most. Right at the start of the game, where you don't have much out there and stuff. So I think he definitely has potential, and I think pretty well equal right around with his lore counterpart, being able to do the encounter card thing. There's some versatility there. So yeah, I would love to see Denethor have 4 defense baseline. Um, I would take 9, even 10 threat on him if he was 4 defense, and I would probably move him up to B for sure, if not A tier. but 3 defense is just a little bit too low to make him a really good defender right out of the gate. So they're both gonna sit in C tier. Lanwin. And this this whole thing probably just goes to show how much I don't I don't understand and am bad at the game, and how bad I am at deck building. Because honestly, I am not. I don't think I'm a very good deck builder at all. And so probably, this is gonna kind of bring that to light. Like, this is how I view and frame the game right now, and I mean, that can always change as I become better and more experienced with the game and stuff too. Anyway, Lanwin is Dale Scout ranged. After encounter card with Surge is revealed, either ready Lanwin or give her +2 willpower until the end of the phase. She got 2 willpower, 3 attack, 1 defense, and 3 hit points. With a 9 threat cost, so fairly low threat. Again, I've never played anything Dale. And she doesn't really do Dale traded stuff, but limit twice per phase, so you can give her you can ready her and give her the +2 willpower if you pull surges. So having something nice that's a bonus on surge to kind of counteract that surge would be pretty good. I would think. I've never played Lanwin, but being able to give her 4 willpower and then ready her and then attack with her 3 attack, and a ranged attack at that, that's actually, oh man, I kind of like that, especially with the 9 threat. I'll put her in B tier for now. Kind of from my initial kind of thoughts of how she would work in a deck, I think I would put her in B tier. But I don't know. She could move up to A or down to C from there probably. Elfhelm. Okay. This is another jack of all trades, and his ability plays into the jack of all trades. Like, everything about him is just this jack of all trades thing, and his ability, like, his ability is not worth it to me. His stat line, I don't like the 2/2/2 stat line. 10 threat, Rohan. There's better Rohan characters in my opinion. I mean, yeah, you're playing lots of mounts with Rohan, but I would like to like him more. And he's gonna have to go C tier, I think. Maybe D. Yeah, we gotta put him D, because I think Erkenbrand would be better in general. I think I would choose Erkenbrand over Elfhelm. It's just not enough of a boost on, like, with an attached mount gets the 1 stat line boost, like, with each character only being able to have up to 2 mounts, like, I don't know. And then, yeah, I'm gonna leave him there just because I don't like the 2/2/2 stat line. It's the other thing. So I'm gonna leave him at D tier. Argalad. Threat of 9, ranged, Sylvan Scout, exhaust Argalad to choose an enemy in the staging area until the end of the phase. That enemy gets -X threat, where X is Argalad's attack. If this effect reduces the enemy's threat to 0, deal 1 damage on it. So this is like the spirit Aragorn of enemies kind of deal, except that except for the fact that attack is probably it is that attack is easier to get on a character to add to a character than willpower is. Plus he's got the ranged. Plus he's lore, so ready with leather boots. 9 threat. I've never played Argalad, but I can see him being quite useful. It is limit once per round, unlike Aragorn. Spirit Aragorn, I don't think is limited. But yeah, Argalad, I'm gonna put. I haven't played him, but I'm gonna put him B tiered. So he's just below. He's gonna be below Spirit Aragorn, but I think he could still be quite useful. But I haven't played him, and again, he's Sylvan, and again, he doesn't do anything with the Sylvans really, so he's gonna be less useful in specifically a Sylvan deck, but more useful outside a Sylvan deck. So, I don't think the Sylvan trait is going to matter that much to the Argalad character most of the time. Okay. I'm going to take another quick break here, and we'll be back in a couple minutes again. Okay, we are back. Um, sees the versatility with Dinosaur, but not art with. Yes, well, okay, but the thing is Dinosaur's resources. Yeah, you can't get them continuously, but they're free. Like, I, his extra resources are free. A card for a resource is a high price. Like, um, I mean, I guess it's not. I guess it's maybe better outside of the Noldor sphere, maybe, because you're not wanting to use those cards on other things, and so as a way to just like get rid of your duplicate uniques, I guess, is nice. But uh, it's one resource, and it's limit once per round. So yeah, I don't know. Um, But having said that, Denethor is still lower than Arwen. Like I just put that out there. He is still lower than Arwen on this tier list. But yeah, I yeah. Anyway, okay, moving on. Um, Naasaya. Okay. Resources in Naasaya's resource pool cannot be used to pay for allies. While Naasaya is attacking or defending, spend one resource from her resource pool to give her +2 attack or +2 defense for this attack. 8 threat cost, 1 willpower, 2 attack, 2 defense, 4 hit points. Unpopular opinion, I really like Naasaya. Um, she's traded terribly. Corsair is freaking useless. Warrior is not bad, but um, I mean the strategy for Nasai, you're gonna be wanting to stack a lot of resources on her, which is unfortunate that her resources can't be used to pay for allies. But I think, in my opinion, she is a really good candidate for a 3 hunters deck. Because the 3 hunters will stack the willpower up on her, with the 3 hunters. Plus, then she's getting those restricted attachments on her to boost her combat, and then she can boost her combat at will as well. Um, yeah, I would say, yeah, I'm putting a lot of my average heroes for probably in B tier. Yeah. And then C is kind of slightly below average. That would be um, a good assessment of that. Um, yeah, B is pretty average in my opinion. Um, D is almost useless, and F is completely useless. Really, like they could almost D and F could probably almost be the same tier, but they're not quite. There's a little bit of a distinction. And then B is kind of my average tier. A is just above average. C is just below average. And then S is the best of the best. Um, but yeah, Warrior is definitely good. In my deck, I do have a deck with Naasaya, and in my deck with her, I believe it's a 3 hunters deck. Um, and what I do is I end up giving her the Gondor trait. I don't remember with what. Oh, Steward of Gondor. I give her Steward of Gondor, which gives her the Gondor trait and that many more resources, and then eventually Gondorian Fire and Blood of Numenor, and then she's just a combat machine. Um, so yeah, yeah, I guess yeah, Warrior is yeah, it is really good on Naasai, I guess. Now that you say that, yeah, there's a lot of good uses for Warrior trait. I wish she was Gondor. Like I obviously she's not, but but yeah, but I end up, I mean, a lot of the time I think you would end up using Steward of Gondor on her anyway. So, um, so it's fine that she's not Gondor traded. But I really like her. She is a machine, um, a combat machine in the deck that I do have with her. And I really like her as a hero. I'm gonna put her A tier. Um, so yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Plus, I mean, I think it's just also kind of cool that she's the only Corsair uh, hero in the game, and so she's one of kind of the bad guys that turns good, kind of like, kind of in the ranks among like Grima and Saruman, and Smeagol and stuff like that, where she's kind of a one of those more rogue kind of characters. Anyway, I really like Naasaya. Um, yeah, and she can't pay for allies, but again, if you're playing in a 3 hunters deck, um, you don't need to pay for allies anyway, so that's not going to do anything. Okay. Prince Imrahil. Yeah. Yeah, to run her without Steward is um yeah, she's not gonna be able to, yeah, those resources is too costly, too expensive. But yeah. Yeah, I know it is a bit of a bold play putting her up in A tier ahead of Arwen. I know I'm gonna get death threats for making this tier list. I know it. I see it already. Okay, moving on. Prince Imrahil. Prince Imrahil. We got 11 threat cost, 2 willpower, 3 attack, 2 defense, 4 hit points. Gondor Noble Warrior. Spend 1 resource from Prince Imrahil's pool to search the top 5 cards of your deck for an ally who shares at least 1 trait with him, and put that ally into play. Shuffle your deck at the end of your phase. If that ally is still in play, shuffle it into your deck. This guy is cool. Okay. Um, this is uh, this is such a cool hero to be able to pull out that ally as a combat action. Now, to be fair, granted, you aren't necessarily guaranteed an ally, but with Gondor Noble Warrior, and then you also put on Prince of Dol Amroth and give him Outlands, and then you can pull Outlands too. Like, Gondor Noble Warrior already covers such a wide range of allies, and then Outlands as well if you're running a few Outlands in there. Um, Now you're gonna have to shuffle that ally back into your deck, but he's gonna show up, help you with the attack, go away, like for 1 resource. Um, Pull like a Boromir or something, and then like it can be really uh, quite useful. And so, uh, and he can really help you with combat, or even if you just need to pull, um, if you just need to pull something out, you can just pull something to just chump block. Even like instead of shuffling it into your deck, it goes into your discard. Okay, oh well, whatever. Um, like just to spend 1 resource to just take any attack, like can be really helpful even in that way. So I'm gonna put. I kind of wish that ally maybe returned to your hand instead of getting shuffled into your deck. Um, then I think he would be S tier. But I'm gonna put him in A tier. I do view him as being above average for sure. Um, yeah, I'll put him in A tier. He's a lot of fun to play. Yeah, that would be fun. Nice. Yeah. Yeah. See, Matt would rank Arwen as D. See, I'm not the only. um. Yeah. Lord Faram, Lord Faramir ally. What does he do? Choose a non-unique enemy. Oh. Oh, that. Oh, I never thought of that for Prince Imran. I literally have never thought about after character enters play responses for Tactics Imrahil. That's actually really cool. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. Okay. That's really cool. That's a cool idea. Yeah. Okay. On with the rankings. We've got Thorin next. Thorin Oakenshield. With a 12 threat cost, 3 willpower, 3 attack, 1 defense, 5 hit points. Dwarf Noble Warrior. If you control at least 5 dwarf characters, add 1 additional resource to Thorin Oakenshield's pool when you collect resources during the resource phase. This is one of my favorite when you control at least 5 dwarf characters, dwarves, to play. Because dwarves are expensive, fairly expensive. Not as expensive as Gondor, but fairly expensive. And being able to collect an extra resource every round is really nice. The mostly I use him for questing, so the 3 willpower is really nice. The threat cost is a little high. He has a good amount of hit points, so that's nice to be able to soak up some damage and stuff. But again, the low defense with the high hit points is not great. Um, I do like his threat cost is quite high, but I do use him in at least 1, if not 2 dwarf decks. I put him B tier dwarf. Um, he's pretty good, but not necessary. Uh, okay, yeah. Maybe S tier for Prince Imrahil. Maybe yeah I haven't used him enough to be able to put him in S tier probably. Uh, but he's cool for sure. I have to leave him in A tier. Yeah. Okay. So let's go on to I think this is Nori. Yeah, Nori. After you play a dwarf character from your hand, reduce the threat by 1. And I think this is the one you're talking about. Oh no, never mind. Yes, Thorin Ori. Which Ori? Ori. Whoops. What? There we go. Okay. Ori. Uh. Oh boy. I'll find him. Nori. Ori. Oh. Oh yeah. Draw an additional card. Yeah. Yes, Ori, Lore Ori, which I think we're getting to yet. Yeah, next one. Okay, well, I'll save that for next one then. Okay, so for now, let's go Spirit Nori. Um, yeah, and I think that's what's really cool about the game too, Martina, is I think everybody has their own way they approach things, and everybody kind of has um, their own way of unique way of viewing things, and um, like yeah, and so in some ways you're like, oh, that's kind of weird how I view things, but I think everybody is a little bit weird and unique in how they view things and how they see different cards. Um, and I think the game allows you for that, where not not everything like the game really allows for that, where some cards, I mean, some cards are just objectively bad, some cards are just objectively good, but there are some cards where there's a lot of room for opinion and stuff like that. So anyway, Nori, after you play a dwarf character from your hand, reduce their threat by one. 2124. uh this is one of my favorite of the low threat dwarves. Of course, he's not super low threat. Um, but if you're swarming a lot of dwarves, he gives you that built-in threat reduction, which is nice. And then most of the time, you're probably just questing with him. So I'm gonna put him in B tier again. I know I've got a lot of heroes in B tier, but that's kind of where a lot of heroes are falling. They're kind of average. So I'm gonna put him there. Um, Now we got Ori. Moving on to Ori. Now this is my favorite low threat cost dwarf with 2213. Um, so he can't defend really, but you're gonna commit him to the quest. You can use him for a little bit of attack if you need. Um, but his real power is when you control 5 dwarf characters, you draw an additional card at the beginning of the resource phase. That's really, really nice in a dwarf deck. So I'm putting Ori A tier, because card draw in a dwarf deck is really nice. The only thing is that Ori is off sphere for dwarves. Really, dwarves are tactics leaderships mostly, and so to try and incorporate a lore hero into that is can be difficult, because you want more of the tactics and leadership resources. And Biffer doesn't help that because he's also a lore dwarf. So putting the resource on him doesn't help you at all. Um, so yeah. I think Ori is A tier. I think. I think I'm gonna have to throw Thorin up in A tier as well, just because I have played him quite a bit, and I really like him. I really like him anytime I play him. Um, so we'll put Thorin up in A tier with Ori. I think Ori being off sphere, the 8 threat cost kind of makes up for that. So okay, now we've got Bjorn. Bjorn. 12 threat cost, 0 willpower, 5 attack, 1 defense, 10 hit points. Sentinel cannot have attachments, immune to player card effects, and Bjorn does not exhaust to defend. Bjorn is one I really like to play around with, and he's always so nice to have around. Um, he's so really good early game, and then you kill him off and you replace him with something else. Like he takes your attacks early game, and then you end up killing him off or keeping him around for his 5 attack and just stop defending with him once you get something else to defend with really well. I personally have a lot of love for Bjorn, and I'm putting him in A tier. Um, he's not gonna do like anything super powerful that will put him in S tier, but I think, and having the 10 hit points and then being able to bring him back as well, um, like, yeah, I think for another 10 hit points, and then always being able to take that 1 damage at least off of the attack because he doesn't have to exhaust to defend, and then he just attacks right back for 5. 5 attack is a lot. And yeah, I really like playing Bjorn. Erebor record keeper. Oh yeah, yeah, yep. Oh really? Yeah, Narvi's belt. That's true. That's true. I forgot about Narvi's belt, but yeah, Narvi's belt on, well, anyone really. Like, yeah, Narvi's belt is a pretty well a must for sure. Okay, Ballin. 9 threat, 2 willpower, 1 attack, 2 defense, 4 hit points. Pay 1 resource from Ballin's resource pool to cancel a shadow effect just triggered during an attack, then deal the attacking enemy another shadow card. Um, there's so many other shadow cancellation abilities that don't deal the enemy another shadow card. So I feel like his and yeah, that's the use case for Bjorn. Yeah, is definitely for stuff that attacks you like really early, and you just don't want to. You just can't really deal with that damage that's coming out, and so Bjorn is just really helpful to just take the damage, and then you don't even have to worry about it. So that's a lot. He's really useful early game, and then later game you can either kill him off or keep him around for his 5 attack or whatever, and whatever you want to do. It's fun. Um, Ballin, um, his ability is a little weird. I think there's too many other shadow cancellations where you're not dealing him the enemy another shadow card. Um, so yeah, and then 2 willpower, 2 defense, 4 attack, or 4 hit points, 1 attack. Like, he's not really doing anything that well, and he's 9 threat. I don't see myself using, especially as leadership with so many other better leadership dwarves, I don't really see myself using Ballin. I'm putting him F tier. Um, I wouldn't ever use Ballin. Limit once per attack. Oh, I see. I guess. If you stack your resources up on him, kind of thing, and just kind of cancel for each attack. But I don't know. I don't ever see myself putting him in the deck. Bard the Bowman. Yeah, I'll leave him there. He's F tier. Bard the Bowman. This is one I really want to like, and I really want, like, I've never played. I've never found a deck to put him in. 11 threat, 2 willpower, 3 attack, 2 defense, 4 hit points, ranged. When he makes a ranged attack, the enemy he attacks get -2 defense until the end of the phase. You beef up his attack a little bit, and he's going to be really helpful for ranging attacks on other people. I really wanted to like him and play him a lot because I really like the character, and I really like the art and everything. And he just seems like he could be a sick character to just take out enemies engaged with other players. Um, but I've never really found a real use case for him, and for that reason, I've never actually played him. But I think I do see I do see some amount of potential there. I'm gonna put him in C tier, because I see some potential, but yeah, I've never been able to get him into a deck. Okay. Owen? Yeah. While you control at least 5 dwarf characters, Owen gets +1 attack and gains the tactics resource icon. Now, I would say he's somewhat helpful as a low threat cost dwarf, because once he gets, because he's kind of off sphere. Yeah, Bard. I can really see Bard being really good multiplayer. Um, yeah. So I really see his potential. I just personally haven't been able to fit him in the deck. Um, I really wish, because he's such a unique and cool character, I really wish they had made him a little bit better. I feel like he should have been more powerful than he is. I feel like it was a bit of a missed opportunity. But yeah. Owen, he gives you the tactics resource icon, which is really nice for dwarves. The +1 attack is okay, but like not great. His stat line to begin with is already not good. So I'm gonna put Owen in C tier. I think he's ahead of some of these other dwarves like Dwalin and Bofer or whatever here. Can be helpful. But I don't. Yeah, he's not great. Um, yeah, he would be a cool 3 hunters. Um, Bard would be a cool 3 hunters one for sure too. That's true. Okay, moving on. Bomber. When counting the number of dwarf characters you control, Bomber counts as 2. 0 willpower, 1 attack, 2 defense, 5 hit points. You can stack him to be a viable defender, but you can stack pretty much anything to be a viable defender. And in lore, it's a lot harder to stack anything to be a viable defender in a lore sphere. And counting as 2, while funny and thematic as that is, it will maybe help you for 1 round, and that's it. Like, if you're playing dwarves, you're getting dwarves out there. Like, it just is not worth it at all. He is F tier. Yeah. Just, in my opinion, he is the second worst hero in the game, probably. Probably. To me, he's good for a chuckle because he counts as 2. That's about all he's good for. Okay. Sam. Sam Gamgee. 8 threat cost. Every time I think about Sam, I always, for some reason, think he's 11 threat. I don't know why. I've just gotten that stuck in my mind, and I always think he's 11 threat. He's 8 threat, 3 willpower, 1 attack, 1 defense, 3 hit points. After you engage an enemy with a higher engagement cost than your threat, ready Sam Gamgee, he gets +1 willpower, +1 attack, and +1 defense until the end of the round. So good. One of the best Hobbit heroes. And I am putting him in A tier because he's not quite S tier material. I don't think he's not he's not as versatile as a lot of the S tier ones. are. You can't just include him in any deck, but he does have. He's really good. He's really good in a Hobbit deck. But I don't think he's as good of a Hobbit as Frodo is. And then Spirit Frodo, and you play Spirit Sam, so you're not gonna play. Oh, you can play Spirit Sam, which is really fun. Instead of playing Leadership Sam. So, but yeah. Um, oh wow. D tier for how much I want to play it. That's on Sam. That's on Sam. Is D tier for how much you want to play it. I like yeah. I think A or S tier. I love playing Sam. Every time. Um, yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna put him in A tier. Mary. Tactics Mary. Okay. Interesting. Tactics Mary. This is one that I include in just about every Hobbit deck I build. Is Tactics Mary. He gets +1 attack for each Hobbit hero you control. After he participates in an attack that destroys an enemy, ready another character that participated in the attack. Now, actually, his response, I don't really use that much, honestly. Um, but his +1 attack for each Hobbit hero you control is really nice for getting that attack right out of the gate on Hobbits. And then boosting his attack with Dagger of Westerness, with you end up with 7 attack on him, kind of thing, is really good for a Hobbit. And then being able to Throngill that Spirit Mary onto him. The only issue is that you can't play this guy outside of a Hobbit deck. Whereas Spirit Mary you can, but most of the time, but if I am playing Tactics Mary, or if I am playing a Hobbit deck, I won't be playing Spirit Mary. I'll be playing Tactics Mary with a Throngill to Spirit Mary. So I'm gonna put him. I'm gonna put him in B tier just because you can't use him outside of the Hobbit deck. So he's not as versatile as Spirit Mary would be. No, I'm gonna put him A tier. I'll put him with Spirit Mary. Because I think he's better than Spirit Mary in a Hobbit deck, and then to Throngill Spirit Mary onto him. But that's my opinion. This is all my opinion, obviously. Okay. Pippin. Lore Pippin. Now, this is the superior version of Pippin, and I think that's probably pretty objective. 6 threat, 2 willpower, 1 attack, 1 defense, 2 hit points. Each enemy in play gets +1 engagement cost for each Hobbit hero you control, which is more helpful than it sounds often when you're playing Hobbits. Again, you're only going to use him in a Hobbit deck. After you engage an enemy with an engagement cost higher than your threat, you also draw a card. So getting that extra card draw whenever you're engaging enemies with a higher engagement cost than your threat, especially if you're getting other bonuses like Sam or whatever, Dagger of Westerness on Mary, that kind of thing. He's really good. And so I'm going to put him as one of the A tier Hobbits as well. Okay. Fatty Bulger. 7 threat, 1 willpower, 1 attack, 2 defense, 3 hit points. Exhaust Fatty Bulger to choose an enemy in the staging area and raise your threat by that enemy's threat until the end of the phase. That enemy does not contribute its threat. This guy's ability is a disadvantage. It would be better if his text box was blank. I mean, not quite really, because you just don't have to use his ability, but he would be just as good if his text box was blank. His ability is practically useless. And in my opinion, he is the worst hero in the game. I would use Bomber before Fatty. he's the worst hero. Yeah. So moving on from there, there's not much more to say on that. Like you can, again, you can just like Bomber, you can build him up as a defender, but why? Like Gandalf, 14 threat. 3 willpower, 3 attack, 3 defense, 5 hit points. Play with the top card of your deck face up. Once per phase, you may play the top card of your deck as if it was in your hand. When playing a card this way, Gandalf is considered to have the printed leadership, lore, tactics, and spirit icons. Gandalf is not good until you get some of his attachments on him. Then he can be really quite useful. Um, and he does have the across the board stat line, but it's 3, which is way better than a 2 across the board. Personally, and I personally, the Road Darkens was one of my earlier expansions I got too, so I played Gandalf quite a bit. Personally, I do have a lot of love for Gandalf, and being able to play Gandalf as a hero instead of just an ally, and like I really like him, and then being able to play Word of Command, um, as he's an Astari character, he's like being able to do Word of Command whenever kind of thing. That's really nice. So I'm gonna put Gandalf in A tier. Is he necessarily? Probably, if I'm being really honest, if I'm trying to rate him just on power, I probably would stick him B tier. But I really like Gandalf, and being the only neutral hero, he makes a really unique kind of thing to build around and have fun with. So, I really like Gandalf. His threat cost is just insanely high, insanely high. Theoden. Spirit Theoden, 2 willpower, 3 attack, 2 defense, 4 hit points, 12 threat cost. Sentinel, reduce the cost of the first Rohan ally you play from your hand each round by 1 to a minimum of 0. In a Rohan deck, this guy is so good. But again, outside of Rohan deck, he doesn't have much use. And so for that reason, I'm going to put him right with the other Theoden in B tier. Because I think in a Rohan deck, he's better than the other Theoden, but outside of a Rohan deck, the other Theoden's better. And so it's a bit of give and take there, and he's a lot of fun to play in a Rohan deck because you get the discount. Discounts are always fun, and I really like discounts on cards. Yeah. Okay. Treebeard. Now this one's really interesting because if you know me personally, I really, really love Ents. Not just in lore, but I love not just in the lore. Although in the lore, yeah, they're probably my favorite race in the books is Ents. But also in the game, just their how they play and their abilities and stuff. I love Ents. Now, Treebeard, when I first got Treebeard, I had a really high opinion of Treebeard. I loved him so much. But I find Treebeard a little bit difficult to use. He's a little tricky to use often because dealing that damage to him can really hurt, and especially if you don't have a way to heal that damage really quickly. Um, like, yeah. So but having the versatility of boosting that stuff is really good. But the main reason I don't play Hero Treebeard much anymore is because of this guy. Because of Ally Treebeard. And I love Ally Treebeard so much. Ally Treebeard is almost an auto-include in almost every deck I build. He is my Gandalf. I honestly, like, I hardly ever play Ally Gandalf in my decks anymore. I always am throwing Ally Treebeard in. Just because And the reason is because Gandalf is really good and strong and powerful on the turn he enters play, and then he goes away. Treebeard does absolutely nothing on the turn he enters play, but he's really good and strong and powerful on all subsequent turns. He's good defender. He's a good attacker. He's a okay quester. He doesn't quest very well, but he's a good attacker. He's a good defender. Plus, you can pay 2 resources from his pool to ready him when you need it. Like, I love playing Ally Treebeard. But this isn't about Ally Treebeard, this is about Hero Treebeard, and Hero Treebeard does not let me play Ally Treebeard. And that's really the main reason I've stopped playing Hero Treebeard, really, is because I love Ally Treebeard so much. And so I'm gonna have to put Hero Treebeard in B tier because he's really cool because you can do that extra willpower after you've resolved cards. So he gives you that ability to be able to see what cards came up and then change your willpower based on that. And that's really helpful, especially if you're trying to like get a very specific number of progress put on something. You can just be like, okay, well, the damage Treebeard 2 and get our 1 progress that we wanted. Yeah. So he's cool in that way, but I don't use him that much anymore. But I really do like Ents. Just gonna make that very clear. Ent is my favorite trait in the game, and it's also my favorite race in the books. So, absolutely love Ents. Okay, Leadership Faramir, 11 threat, 2 across the board again, 5 hit points. Ranged, after you engage an enemy, ready an ally you control. To me, this Faramir is... I've never played this Faramir, actually. But to me, this Faramir is, again, fairly lackluster, almost as much as the lore Faramir. But at least Leadership Faramir is... Oh, no, he's not Dunedain. Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, it would be if you are really... Yeah, that would be quite the combo. Glowing Elrond hero and Song of Healing, and you just abuse Hero Treebeard. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can do that. But yeah, he's kind of difficult to get in there. And then yeah, I always play Ally Treebeard, all the time. Faramir, I think I'm gonna put him with his lore counterpart here, Leadership Faramir. I don't know. Like, I think there's more useful abilities for enemy engagement on other rangers and stuff. And you can have Dunedain traded instead of not Dunedain traded for engaging enemies. Because that's kind of Dunedain's thing, not necessarily just ranger, is the engagement of enemies. So, yeah. That's true. That's true, actually, honestly. Yeah. Leadership Faramir, the should have been Treebeard being able to ready the Ents, which is the other thing about Ally Treebeard, is being able to then ready Ents on the turn that you play them if you want. Instead of, most of the time I'm going to ready Ally Treebeard himself, but if you want to be able to ready your Ent the turn that you play it, it's really nice. Yeah. Okay. Leadership Faramir. Damrod. Damrod. So good. I love playing Damrod because traps. And I do really like traps. And he reduces the cost to play them and gives you card draw when you do play them. So he takes traps and says, hey, those are pretty good. Let's make them even better. I play Damrod quite a bit. I put him A tier. Damrod is A tier to me. Ranger Spikes, by the way, is my favorite trap because you can just send it out into the staging area and let enemies sit on it and not do anything with them. Um, and he just plays it for one. So, and then you get a card when an enemy attaches to it. So that's really nice. And then Entangling Nets, throw it out there for free, and that enemy is really weak now. Yeah, Damrod is really good. Really good hero. And his stat line, like by the time I get around to looking at his stat line, I don't even care about his stat line because he does the trap thing really. And usually I'm just committing him to the quest, 2 willpower, whatever. I don't mind that. He gives me my traps. I really like him. Only wish he was Dunedain. Yeah, that would be cool if he had been Dunedain. That would have been fun. Yeah. Eowyn. Tactics Eowyn. Reduce your threat by 3, raise your threat by 3 to ready Eowyn. She gets +9 attack until the end of the phase. Limit once per game for the group. 4 willpower, 1 attack, 1 defense, 3 hit points. I don't think this is going to surprise anyone that Eowyn is going all the way up to S tier. She's better than the Spirit Eowyn. She gives you the willpower in tactics. I use her, like, you use her just so much because if you're playing anything in tactics and you're just like, oh man, I really need that extra willpower, it's Eowyn. And then her ability allows you to take out a big enemy early game while you set up your board state to deal with the big enemies later on. And then if you don't use it, you get the 3 threat reduction, which is nice. For 4 willpower for 6 threat, that's already good right there, even if you don't use her ability. So, she's the best tactics hero. Period. Baragond. Spirit Baragond, 0 willpower, 1 attack, 4 defense, 4 hit points. Sentinel, Gondor Warrior. After Baragond defends an attack and takes no damage, reduce the defending player's threat by 1. Spirit Baragond is once again going all the way up to S tier. Yeah. Tactics Eowyn is just good. Like, that's just how it is. Spirit Baragond is also going S tier because, as far as defenders, he would be my go-to, anytime. And just, if you're playing, like, yeah, like, you get the defense out of Baragond and he reduces your threat. You know, not including anything that's doomed or whatever. Like, he's gonna negate your 1 threat raise at the end of the turn every round. Like, he's gonna really slow down that threat timer, if not stop it altogether. And then defend on top of that, and Sentinel defend across the table. So, and then Gondorian Shield on him, bring him up to 6 defense. He's my go-to defender other than maybe Dane. But Dane, you need some way to be able to deal with his discarding all your cards too. So, Spirit Baragond. Aylmer. Rohan, Noble Warrior. After Aylmer commits to the quest, spend 1 resource from his resource pool to declare him as an attacker and to resolve his attack against an enemy in the station. Oh. Really? Yeah, so 10 threat cost, 1 willpower, 3 attack, 2 defense, 4 hit points. I've never played this guy, and I was not aware really that another attacking the staging area person existed. So that's kind of cool, and it's leadership traded, so or a leadership sphere, so different sphere from the other 2 attackers into the staging area. And I think for that reason, we'll put. I think we just put him right with the other attackers for the staging area. It kind of sucks that he has to spend a resource to do it, but it's after he commits to the quest, so he doesn't have to ready to do it either. So it's kind of a give and take there. So, um, yeah, usually avoiding. I'm assuming you're talking about Spirit Baragond. Um, yeah, that's same reason I avoid leadership Dane. um, yeah. But leadership Aomir, I'm gonna have to put B tier because I see potential for him, especially not having to ready him. Um, but at the same time, I've never played him, so I don't feel like I can really put him higher than that. Um, yeah, yeah, that's cool. So yeah, there's leadership Aomer. I'm gonna put him B tier for now. And that one would be probably a potential one with good potential to move up in the future. I just haven't played him. Tom Cotton. While you are engaged with an enemy with higher engagement cost than your threat, the first Hobbit ally you play each round does not require a resource match. After a Hobbit ally enters play, it gets +2 attack until the end of the round. 8 threat, 1 willpower, 1 attack, 3 defense, 3 hit points. I have never played Tom Cotton, and I don't think I would. I'm going to put him C tier because I think other Hobbit allies are just better. But I could be wrong. Or other Hobbit heroes, not allies. Leadership Gimli. Sentinel. After Gimli is declared as defender, spend 1 resource from Gimli's pool to ready another hero. If that hero is Legolas, he gets +1 attack until the end of the phase, limit once per phase. He's got this 2 stat line again across the board, and it grinds my gears. It's not bad on Tactics Gimli because you're automatically going to be getting a ton of extra attack on him. So, but oh man, to to defend and then his ability to work off of defense, so that I guess gives you kind of a direction to put him in, but like give him one less willpower and one more defense. Like I don't like I don't think I would ever use leadership Gimli, but he's not like I don't think he's quite deserving of F tier, but so I'm gonna put him in D tier because I just and then yeah, like if you use him with Legolas, but Legolas gets +1 attack then, and then I think Spirit Legolas boosts his defense maybe, which is cool. So I might one day play Gimli Legolas combo there, but I just yeah. Speaking of which, next is okay. My OBS just said it disconnected, but it's saying reconnected now, so we should be good. Okay. Okay. Khalil. Khalil is Harad, Noble, 10 threat, 2 across the board, 4 hit points. You may use resources from Khalil's pool to pay for Harad allies of any sphere. Discard a Harad ally from your hand to ready a Harad character in play. This is really cool. This is a lot of fun, especially with his headdress, where you can shuffle a Harad ally back into your deck to get that ready on the Harad allies. Now I don't like this two stat line again, but again, but I think like just the sheer power of the Harad allies really kind of makes up for that. And then being able to ready them, his headdress making each Harad character gets +1 willpower, like, and then he can pay for Harad allies of any sphere, which they're really expensive, and being able to Steward of Gondor him, then he can Steward of Gondor himself, and then just pile the resources on, play all your 3 Harad allies, and then your duplicates you can just use to ready all your Harad characters and stuff. He's really cool as a Harad character. I'm gonna put him as A tier. Because building a Harad deck with him is so much fun, and it's such a unique, kind of like Naasaya, where you had this unique kind of thing coming in that just like you get to play Harad, or where Naasaya you get to play a Corsair, which is really cool. And I think he's quite powerful if you get your headdress and then your all your other Harad allies. Um, yeah, Thrindir. Thrindir gets +1 willpower for each side quest in the victory display. Search your deck for a side quest and add it to your hand. Shuffle your hand deck during setup. I really like Thrindir. He's 8 threat cost, which isn't too bad, and he can get quite a good amount of willpower, especially if you're playing in Angmar Awakened. But even if not, if you're just playing a side quest deck, I have a Bond of Friendship side quest Hobbit deck with him in it, which I have a lot of fun with. I'm gonna put him A tier because also being able to get whatever side quest you want into your hand at the beginning of the game is really cool. And then yeah, he'll get up to 6-7 willpower himself, which is nuts for one character. Um, Plus getting bonuses from the side quests along the way. Who is this? I think this is Hirgon. Yep. 9 threat, 2 willpower, 2 attack, 1 defense, 4 hit points. After Hirgon quest successfully play a tactics ally from your hand, reducing its cost by 1 to. There we go. Okay. Even to the point where he might even be A or S tier, but I just don't know. So I'm gonna put him down at the bottom with NA as well. I can't really say at this point on Hirgon. Let me know what you think of Hirgon. Yeah. Fast Tread. 9 threat, 1 willpower, 2 attack, 3 defense, 3 hit points. After Fast Tread defends an enemy attack, return it to the staging area to reduce your threat by 2. Now, again, you're not necessarily wanting to bounce a whole lot of enemies back into the staging area. That's generally a negative thing. Okay, see you, Matt. Thanks for joining. That's generally a negative thing, but at the same time, being able to reduce your threat by 2 for doing that, and then if you play him with somebody like Eomer or Damrod or something that's going to attack those enemies in the staging area, like that's an incredible combo. I don't think I've ever played Fast Tread, but I see his usefulness. And I'm gonna put him B tier. Falco. Falco Boffin, 7 threat, 2 willpower, 2 attack, 0 defense, 2 hit points. Falco Boffin gets -1 threat cost for each Hobbit hero you control, and then you discard him to reduce your threat by 7 once per game, which is cool. I haven't used him yet. I want to use it. Maybe I have. Anyway, I think it's decent. Like, he just kind of comes in and helps you for the beginning of the game, and then you just yeet him out of there. And no, we didn't. We just didn't spend much time on Spirit Legolas. He's D tier along with Gimli. I put him down here, along with Leadership Gimli. I just didn't spend much time on him because I don't really see much use out of either of them. So I'm going to put Falco in B tier, I think. Because he's kind of cool because he just negates his own starting threat and then helps you for a bit and goes out of there. Like, kind of fun. Quick Beam. Now, I love Ents, but I cannot for the life of me figure out how to use Quick Beam. threat cost is just way too high to justify using him. His action you're not going to be able to use much. Um, yeah, so I don't know. Like, Quick Beam is cool. He's just such a high threat cost, and it's 4 attack, which is nice, but not nice enough. And then deal 2 damage to ready him. It just there's so much better things to attack with Quick Beam, and I've always kind of dreamed of building. Actually, I have. I've built a deck with Quick Beam and Treebeard and Falco actually. Quick Beam, Treebeard, Falco deck, and it just isn't like the heroes aren't quite useful enough. Like they're not the Ent heroes are not at all what I want them to be. The allies are great. I love all the Ent allies or most of the Ent allies. But the heroes are not all that they need to be. And Quick Meme I think is even worse than Treebeard. And so he's going C tier. Yeah. I think this is Brand again here. Yeah. 10, or, yeah. He's Dale. I'm just gonna skip him again, because, and as well as, this next guy. Bard, I think? Yeah. Because, again, I've never played Dale, and I see that they're probably extremely useful, but so I'm just gonna skip both of those, put them in the NA tier. I'm not even gonna touch them. Yeah. Grimbjorn. Now we're getting close to the end here. Grimbjorn the Old, 0 willpower, 3 attack, 3 defense, 5 hit points. Sentinel, Bjorning Warrior. After Grimbjorn the Old defends an enemy attack, spend 1 resource from his pool to declare him as an attacker against that enemy and resolve his attack. Defending enemy gets -2 defense for this attack. Grimbjorn is such a good defender, and I probably just I don't use him enough, and he's really cool. I really like Grimbjorn. I'm gonna put him A tier. I don't use him as much as I do most of the A tier ones, but he's really good. I do like him. Halden. Woodman Scout, 10 willpower, or 10 threat, 2 willpower, 3 attack, 1 defense, 4 willpower. While the active location has an attachment on it, Halden does not exhaust a quest when the active location explored. Draw 1 card for each attachment on it. He's really cool, but his use case is pretty narrow and pretty limited. You gotta be running a bunch of location attachments. But it is really cool to do, and a lot of fun. So for that reason, he's going in B tier because his use case is pretty narrow, but a lot of fun, and he's really good when he does fit into that niche. Thranduil. Threat 9. 1 willpower, 1 attack, 3 defense, 4 hit points. Sylvan Noble. Play combat action. Play a Sylvan ally from your hand. You do not need a resource match for this ally. This guy is pretty essential playing Sylvan. Like, he is... he's a really good Sylvan guy. To be able to pull an ally out as a combat action after the questing has all happened is really nice. Not needing a resource match is good too. And then he's a pretty solid defender. Like, I'm gonna have to put him in A tier as well because I don't think he's not quite S, but he's a really good for those Sylvan decks. Dane. Spirit Dane. While Dane Ironfoot is defending, he gains action, discard the top card of your deck to give Dane Ironfoot +1 defense for this attack. He's going S tier. I really can't I mean, there's not really a whole lot to say about it. Like, Dane is just a crazy defender. Um, Almost done. He's just a crazy defender. Uh, and you get 6 defense right out of the gate with him. And yeah, that's and in spirit as well, where defense can be a little more scarce. Other than, I mean, there's Baragond, but um, if you want to do something different, and then being able to do that mining archetype as well is really cool too. Bilbo. Tactics Bilbo. Um, 9 threat, 1 willpower, 1 attack, 2 defense, 2 hit points. Hobbit Burglar. After Bilbo Baggins commits to the quest, choose an enemy in the staging area until the end of the phase. Bilbo Baggins gets plus X willpower, where X is that enemy's threat. If the player's quest successfully, deal a damage to that enemy, 2 damage instead of it is guarding a card. So I haven't really used Bilbo much, but I think he could be a lot of fun, and he could be quite useful in the right kind of a deck. I'm going to put him in B tier. Radagast. Radagast is a lower hero, 11 willpower, 11 threat, 2 willpower, 2 attack, 3 defense, 4 hit points. You may use resources from Radagast pool to pay for creature allies of any sphere. After you play a creature card, Radagast does not exhaust a quest this round. I don't understand why. I honestly cannot see why everybody thinks ally Radagast is so much better than Hero Radagast. And I think Hero Radagast seems pretty good. Again, I haven't played him though, but I think he seems pretty decent, really. Like, he's a good defender. He doesn't have to exhaust a quest when you play a creature card. So if you're playing Eagles, I mean, he's off sphere for Eagle, but he can pay for creature allies of any sphere. So, and then he's lore, so he's going to have that healing that the ally Radagast has anyway. I don't see why he's so bad. Like, I think he's pretty good. I'm gonna put him B tier, but I just haven't really played him. Frodo Baggins. Leadership Frodo, threat of 7, 2 willpower, 1 attack, 2 defense, 2 hit points. After he commits to a quest, spend 1 resource from his pool to ready another unique character committed to the quest. If you quest successfully this phase, reduce your threat by 1. Now, it's cards like these, like Baragorn does the same thing, like, where you're getting that consistent threat reduction adds up to a lot. And being able to ready somebody else that's committed to a quest is really good too. I'm going to put him in A tier. He's not as good as Spirit Frodo, I don't think, but he is quite good. Quite good. Oops. Smeagol. Smeagol, 2/2/2/3, but he only has a 3 threat cost, being the lowest threat cost here in the game. But you have to shuffle 2 copies of Stinker into the encounter deck, and after you travel to a location, you can raise your threat by 1 to draw a card. So he got some card draw on them, but he can also turn on you, and he can turn on you at any time at the most inconvenient of times, which can be an issue. But again, especially being lore, you can also negate that lore, or you can also negate that Stinker to some extent with some encounter scrying. So you might be able to avoid that. And with just 3 threat cost, he seems like he could be useful. But again, having him turn on you whenever seems really quite bad, but I've never played him. So I'm gonna put him in C tier. Because again he's got the 2/2/2 stat line, but he's the his 3 threat cost is really low. Like that's almost nothing. And then you could potentially negate his turning on you with some encounter scrying and stuff. Maybe playing with Furiel or whatever, and yeah, you get a stat line for only three threat cost. So Thorin Stonehelm. 1 willpower, 3 attack, 1 defense, 4 hit points. After Thorin Stonehelm is declared as an attacker, discard the top card of your deck to deal 1 damage to an enemy engaged with you. I don't think this guy is useful enough to be played in most decks. Especially with how late he came out and how many other dwarves are better than him and offer you more attack and more options for combat and stuff. I just don't think he's really worth it. So he's going D tier. Lothiriel, 8 threat, 3 willpower, 1 attack, 1 defense, 3 hit points. Gondor Noble, if Éomer is in play, Lothiriel gains the Rohan trait. Yeah, Thranduil allowing you to put off Sphere allies is really nice, for sure. After Lothiriel commits to a quest, choose an ally in your hand. If that ally shares a trait with her, put that ally into play exhausted and committed to the quest at the end of the phase. If that ally is still in play, shuffle it into your deck. I don't really like her just because shuffling that ally from your hand into your deck gets rid of the potential for you to be able to play that ally. Like, it's not worth it. I'm going to put her as D tier as well. Saruman. Now, 13 threat, 3 willpower, 4 attack, 2 defense, 4 hit points. When a player card effect would reduce your threat by any amount, reduce that amount to 1. While playing an event with the printed Doomed keyword, Saruman gains the printed Leadership, Spirit, and Tactics icons. After you play a card with Doomed keyword, ready Saruman. Now, Saruman can be a lot of fun, but he's pretty difficult to build around too, and he's a really high threat cost. So I'm going to put him B tier. He can be really good and really fun to play, but he's also he's difficult to build. Gildor Inglorian. We're getting down to the last few here. 9 threat, 3 willpower, 2 attack, 1 defense, 3 hit points. Noldor Noble. Pay 1 resource from Gildor Inglorian's resource pool to choose a player and draw 1 card. Being in leadership, that usually gives him the resources to do it. And I guess if you comboed him with Arwen, you could essentially discard a card to draw a card, which is interesting, I guess. But I'm not sure how much I would use him. Yeah, I don't know. I think on Radagast, back on Radagast, for some reason in general, I could be wrong, but for some reason in general, I was sure he got like a lot of hate from a lot of people, and a lot of people thought the ally version was better. I don't see that, but I thought that's how it is. I know my brother thinks that, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I thought just in general the community didn't really like Hero Radagast. But Gildor Inglorian, I don't know. I don't think I would really use him that much. I'm gonna put him C tier. Yeah. Gwahir. He is really powerful, high threat cost, but he does what he's meant to do in the deck that he's running. I think that's the only character who is, or the only, at least the only hero who is both ranged and sentinel at the same time and can do well at both. Um, of course, he doesn't ready during the refresh phase, but you've got Eagles bouncing in and out of play, and he's going to be readying all the time anyway. So I'm going to put Gwai here up in A tier because I really like him. I think he's really, really good and can be really powerful. And finally, the last one, Aragorn. Now, this Spirit Aragorn, completed the 4 spheres of Aragorn's. Um, and so we had Spirit left, and it came in the last pack. 2 willpower, 3 attack, 2 defense, 5 hit points, Dunedain Ranger Scout. Sentinel, this guy has Scout too. I don't think any of the other Aragorns were traded as Scout, which can be helpful. Exhaust Aragorn to choose a location in the staging area. Until the end of the phase, that location gets minus X threat, where X is Aragorn's willpower. If this effect reduces a location's threat to 0, place 1 progress on it. And it's not limited. Oh, it is limited once per round. Okay, well, I thought it was unlimited, but it's not. But you can commit him to the quest and do his ability, and then that allows for placing progress on locations in the staging area. I put this guy at A tier because I think personally he is better than Tactics and Leadership Aragorn, but he's not good as Tactics or as Lore Aragorn. So I'm gonna put him right in the middle there at A tier. I think he is really quite good though, and some good combat, some good stats for the Spirit Sphere as well. Um, yeah, so that's all of them. That's it. We're done. Finally, boom. I don't know how long are we into the live stream here? We are almost 4 hours. Almost 4 hours into the live stream. We are finally done ranking every hero in the game on the tier list. Um, you may disagree with me severely on a lot of these. Please don't unsubscribe. Uh, um, and yeah, let me know. Tell me either here in the comments or over on our Discord how I got everything all backwards. And maybe this template is available on Tier Maker online. So maybe go ahead and make your own tier list and share those with us as well. Yeah, and so again, next week there won't be any second breakfast happening because Canadian Thanksgiving. Um, so next weekend there won't be second breakfast, and then the week after that, and then it'll be 2 weeks after Thanksgiving. But also stay tuned. I'm probably going to be doing a giveaway in the next few weeks or so. As well. So stay tuned for that, and we'll see you on the next one. Again, let me know how I messed everything up on this tier list, and go ahead and send me your own. I'd love to see where you rank all the heroes. So yeah, until next time, have a good day.